We're live. Still
back
using
at full
Hangouts.
strength.
Even though Google said Hangouts is gone, it's not gone. It's here.
Yeah. And just like Manny had gone to Thailand, like Hangouts was supposed to, he's back.
I'm alive and kicking ass.
You feel more zen now?
I wouldn't go that far. I feel like I spent a lot of time doing nothing. That's how I feel.
Yeah. What did you try to do, and how did it go?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was in Thailand, living the island life for a little bit. Then I went to Bali, again living the Bali island life. I tried to work, and
I seem to remember someone making a prediction that not a lot of work would happen. Do you remember that, John? It's playing in my head in your voice. So
yeah, I tried.
They call me the
most productive time, that's for sure. But partly also because I was, allowing myself to juggle between working and not working. So it was a good time. I mean, if you guys are ever here's how it goes down. Bali and Thailand, like those islands, are cheaper than going to a vacation in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Not if you go to Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas is not that not that cheap, by the way. Like, because the hotel, you end up paying like $150, $200 a night, and in Bali you can get away with like $30, $40 a night, $50 a night.
Having driven through Kansas a few times, yeah, you just get out in the middle of it, you look around, and you've seen the whole thing.
You've seen it all, but it was fun.
Corn.
It was fun. It was like new, beautiful islands and really fun times. So
nice.
What schedule were you trying to keep then?
Nothing.
Okay. So did you ditch the I'm going to try to work every day kind of idea?
I did work every day. It wasn't the best work I did, but I still did work every day, even if it was like the best work I actually ended up doing was the day. What I realized, okay, so this is the biggest realization I had.
I did the same kind of work last week in Palm Springs.
Yeah, I heard about that.
You walked to the beach and then walked home.
So the way I like, what I learned was that environment makes a big difference.
Yeah.
In your work environment, doesn't like your immediate work environment, right? Where you sit down to work. Me personally, it makes a huge difference. So there were days in there was like a few days I was in Copenhagen. I was in a really beautiful resort, but the freaking rooms didn't have a desk. Or the desk was pretty crappy. What was quote unquote a desk. So every day I would think of working, and I would go to a coffee shop, and I'd do this and I'd do that. I'd get some work done. There was nothing as good as when I went to Bali and I was like, all right, screw it. I'm just gonna, get a Western room, get a Western hotel, and where I know there's a nice proper desk to work from. So I got a Marriott, and that's when, like, the days when I was at the Marriott, I worked like 4, 5, 6 hours, and I was really focused and got really high quality work done. And the days I was at like just a normal kind of resort, normal hotel room, which wasn't really designed for corporate or kind of work environments, there I felt kind of out of balance, because I was trying to go to this place to work and that place to work. Was never as good as like just having your place to work, even if it was like for 4 hours in the morning, where I was like, all right, nothing else but work, but in a really secluded environment with a nice desk and a nice real, like, this is my place to work, and now whatever happens. Every time I decided, I tried to like say, okay, I'll just work wherever I can, in a coffee shop or in a restaurant or anything like that. It was nowhere as good as when I had that place to work. So the biggest learning was, no matter what, environment is so crucial to getting high quality work done. Otherwise, it's really easy to get distracted and be all over the place and try to if you're not in good environments, if you don't have the proper space, it's your brain or my brain personally, like I'm not as like my work quality diminishes significantly. Like my focus quality diminishes significantly. My overall output will diminish significantly. It's like orders of magnitude different. Orders like probably 2 to 3 to 4, 5x different compared to what you would get done even if I was just in a small closed room with a nice desk. So that was a big learning.
Also tequila.
Yeah. Tequila after all
of that, but also tequila. You got to take the variables out.
It's not.
You got to have independent variables.
I can totally see.
It's a multivariate equation there.
I'm not drunk enough to work. I'm not drunk enough to work. Oh, now I'm too drunk to work.
I mean, that tequila is definitely a challenge. But if you take that aside, you find that your environment is like one of the biggest predictors of how good work you do. I mean, right now I'm going through this process at home, but I have a bunch of furniture, stupid furniture sitting around that I need to sell away. But because that furniture is sitting around, it's causing so much like mental anguish. I cannot go home and work from home. I literally don't work from home right now because it's so annoying to be there amongst all of that shit. So it's almost like, well, a couple of different things. There's a cost associated with everything. So getting a Western style room, like Western hotel, like in a Marriott, yeah, more expensive, but way worth it in the long term in terms of like how much shit I got done and as a result, how much things worked out. So everything has a cost. Everything has an opportunity cost. Everything has a time investment cost. So it's very easy to think that something is a good deal, only to realize it's actually a bad deal in the long term because it takes up your personal energy and time, which is a cost we don't account for our own personal energy and time in the cost equation a lot of times, but that's like one of the most important. I just read this book, Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, and he was talking about the idea that if you had to pay to use Instagram or pay to use Facebook, pay to use any of these media channels, how often would you do that? How much would you pay to actually use those things? But the truth is we're paying with our attention, right? And it's the same with opportunity cost in many ways. Like we're paying. If I'm not paying for the room, I'm paying for the lack of productivity. I'm paying for the lack of high quality work. So it's actually worse rather than just paying for the damn room and having that clean environment to work and do high quality shit. So opportunity cost is like, it's not apparent, but it is huge, or the cost of doing things, of the cost of not doing things and the cost of doing the right thing and the cost of not doing the right thing. It's like you're juggling all these different parameters, but the simplest thing is to think of your energy and your time as the biggest expense in anything.
Right.
And we think of it as the smallest expense. We think of money as the biggest expense. But our time and energy is the biggest expense in most situations. And we undermine calculating that in anything, right? We allow ourselves to be like, oh, okay, I can spend time and energy and my mental bandwidth on this shit. And it ends up being the most expensive shit. Yeah. So I think that was quite a bit of learning in the last few weeks about the stupid ways I live my life sometimes, thinking of optimizing short-term cost rather than long-term benefit. So, by the way, now talking about marketing, in digital minimalism, there was a really interesting thing that Cal Newport was talking about, where he said Facebook's customer, for the longest time, the tabloid business was not really tabloid business. It was like okay, I'm selling you a $2 magazine, and you're giving me $2. I'm giving you this magazine, and that's the deal. That's basically the end of the story. Until this guy came around and said, "Oh, I don't need to sell any magazine for $2. I'll sell it for a penny." That was the New York Times Sun or New York Sun or something, right? The first tabloid. He's like, my product is not the magazine. My product is the customer's attention. My product is not the content, it's the attention. And my customers are not the people who are buying the magazine, but the advertisers. And that's exactly what's happening with Facebook and Instagram today. The product is not Facebook. The product is your attention and my attention.
Right.
And the customer is the advertiser.
Yep.
Right. In YouTube,
there's another customer too, though. The other customer with the big tech giants is the liberal ideology, because that's the customer for them.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that's the master they're serving. That your model is a pure model in which the advertiser is a customer, but that's not exactly what's going on with Facebook and YouTube and any of the big tech giant platforms, because they're serving, yes, the advertiser, but they're also serving a political agenda as well. So that's influencing a lot of their decisions.
So to add to that, to stay out of politics and to add to that conversation, whenever media is democratized, the lowest common denominator will win. And what he was saying was that whenever media is democratized, in the sense information is always like, you can write whatever you want, and you can read whatever you want, and you can listen to whatever you want. The negative emotions and the negative shit will always win over the positive stuff.
For sure, yeah.
Right? All the crap will always win over the good stuff. So we're living in an environment where we have all of this information being shoved in our faces. The democratic, like the media available, because there's so much information available, the crap information will always rise to the top. In the sense, negative stuff is always going to be the most dominating in terms of attention and all that stuff. And also, we are paying with our attention whenever we're using all of these services.
But there was a time when funny cat videos, there was like a golden era in which
the good old days.
The positive emotion of cat video won it all. But
was it positive emotion is a question.
I watch cat videos uphill both ways.
Yeah, definitely good times. Cat videos, positive emotion all the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
Charlie the Unicorn.
I think the key understanding though is like that our attention is being sold. Our attention is the product.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah.
And as humans, our attention and our energy is the most important thing that we're selling every time, that we're giving away every time to any of these things, anytime we're doing these things. So it kind of ties into the whole overall cost, the opportunity cost, or the cost of anything. The cost of anything is the amount of life you give to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the money, it's the amount of life you give to it. So in terms of using Facebook, the cost of using Facebook is the amount of life you're giving for it. That's what what's his name? Thoreau came up with that concept. The cost of anything is the amount of life you're giving for it. So you have to be very careful of what you're buying or what you're investing in.
Right.
What drives me crazy is how many of these, like I'll sign up for a course or something, and it's like, you have to be part of our Facebook group. I'm just like, I hate Facebook.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, what Cal Newport was saying in the book was that ultimately you have to decide according to your values and aspirations and your principles, what media you will use and how you will use it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it happen by default. Do it by design.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Which media outlet will you use and how you will use it, when you'll use it, should be a function of which value it serves in your life, which aspiration it serves in your life, and how you're using it, rather than just by default, which happens to 99.99% of the people. We're just using it because.
So Manny, how do you like my Bulldog Mindset relaunch?
Dude,
I've been getting a lot of email from you.
have you been reading those emails?
No.
Who's been reading those emails? I've been reading those emails. And I think John needs to work on his grammar. John needs to work on his sentence structure a little bit. And also not refer to himself in the emails. Where he says, Mr. Sonmez, what do you think about this?
Oh yeah.
And
Maybe
I
we
think
can all chip in and buy John a copy of Elements of Style by Drunken Weight.
I don't think that is a problem. I think we need to buy him a subscription to English Grammar 101,
But
201 and 301 and 401.
But guess how many new memberships were sold?
How many? Okay, hang on.
Okay.
How many email subscribers do you have now?
Like 3,000.
Okay.
How much is the membership?
100.
What's that?
How much is the membership?
$30 a month.
Yeah, it's $30 a month now.
How many did you have last time?
101 or 102.
I would say 50.
You say 50 new sales?
Yeah. How many days has it been?
It's been a week, I think.
No, since the card opened.
Like a couple of days, like 3 days, I think.
And when is it closing?
It should be closing today.
I would say 30 sales right now. Maybe it'll get to 50.
We're at 38, so not bad.
Yeah. So
imagine if the emails were not so fucked up.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, definitely. The emails are a big part of that launch, and like, if I'm reading those emails as a unbiased observer, I'm like, what the fuck happened to John? He used to be okay.
Well, it's the tequila. I mean, come on.
Yeah, tequila. I also my workspace was cramped. So
Yeah.
what can a man do? Fuck.
There was an extra bar stool in the corner of his office, and his mind was just not on straight.
Yeah.
Now I got to figure out how to what I think I need to do is my guy that he's got some good ideas and he's a hard worker, but his attention to detail is lacking. So I probably need to. I need to like start training him on that, and then get.
I don't know if you can train people on attention to detail, but you can hire an editor. On top of it to clean that out, because attention to detail is one of those things that's just either you are good with it, you enjoy it, or you don't. Like training that shit is still going to be a pain, especially with his English. I think he tries, but at the same time, English grammar is something that's not easy to train for. Like that's fucking hard work, man.
Yeah.
That's like long-term plan. You're in training someone's English grammar in a month or 2 or 3. That's like years and years of written English being improved. It's a lot of work.
You could make friends with a good copywriter and bring them into the picture. I have a friend that did that for another website, Simple Program.
You could have I could. That's a good idea. The copywriter might be more expensive than what you make from that launch, but
that's
possibly.
Yeah. Well, I'm only paying this guy like $1,000 a month, so it's like it's worth.
I'll send out some junk emails for $1,000 a month.
I'll pay you $1,000 a month to send some junk emails out.
Also, I think your emails are landing in the promo folder, which you need to look at. They were not. They were going to update, so now they're going to promo.
Well, those ones are coming out of active campaign, so it's gonna take some time to get some sender authority with that. So
you think so? Because the emails you were sending earlier with ConvertKit, they were landing in updates.
It depends. Like, I think what happens to is There's like a whole thing of like how people got onto the list. Like if you've imported people onto the list, then you like if they join directly through the email provider, like through ActiveCampaign, then ActiveCampaign knows that they are like legitimate. So I think there's something going on there too as well.
That's fair.
It's
Yeah.
also very, it's also very, like, there's not much of a penalty to landing in promotions. Like the best data that I've seen on it, I think it was one of the big email providers did like a huge study with millions and millions of data points, and it was like, it maybe reduces your open rate by like 5 or 10%, but the results, it seemed like the results weren't really any different. Because the people that weren't opening were like the least likely to open it anyway. If that makes sense. Because a lot of people check their promotions tab religiously.
Yeah.
Like, and it's almost like it can become almost a higher visibility inbox. So it's like, if you get an 18% open rate, your open rate might be like 16.5%, but you end up with about the same click-throughs. So it's not a huge concern. Plus, a lot of people have disabled, like something like 40 or 50% of Gmail users or more have disabled the promotions tab. So, it's not a clear cut thing that it's
as long as it doesn't end
problem.
end up in spam.
That's the one that's killer.
Yeah,
I think images really kill your deliverability. And anytime there's an image in the email, it just bombs the fucking email.
That's not true though, because the thing is, like, most of the emails that you send have images in them. I mean, they all have images.
They all have a one pixel
tracking pixel.
Yeah, tracking pixel.
Not only is it the tracking pixel, but like even if you just use Drip's default, right? If you look at the emails that are being sent, they're being sent. It's plain text, but it's being sent. It's still HTML markup,
right?
There.
Yeah.
So I guess that's not explicitly an image, but it's markup. It's HTML,
right?
Unless you actually turn on plain text email, right? But if you do,
you can't track anything.
Yeah, you won't be able to track anything, and the links won't be clickable, right? Like it'll, like you can make links in there and they'll be clickable, but they won't be hyperlinked. So, so I don't think
track clicks either.
Yeah. You can track clicks.
You end up with like a really ugly.
I've definitely seen whenever I add images in my emails, my open and click rates drop dramatically. Open rates drop dramatically.
It might be the size of the email. Like it might be the size of the images and
Yeah, there's a percentage that you don't want to exceed. I don't remember what it is, but if it's and the size matters too.
Well, yeah, and you shouldn't send dick pics out to your.
I was gonna say size matters again.
What about cucumbers?
It's just bad email marketing practice. Like,
what about cucumbers?
Yeah, cucumbers and bananas are okay.
Okay, as long as you agree on that.
Yeah, an eggplant or two, you could throw that in. That's okay too.
Okay.
Man,
I'm so tired.
Seen the images issue. Like we have, we use a lot of sponsor images. A lot of our emails have images, and I really don't see any difference in the open rates. So it could be something specifically with the way that you're setting it up. But
also, one of my coaching clients is killing it on his launch. So he's got a YouTube channel. I think he's got about like 25 or 30K subscribers now. He started like about a little over a year ago, and I've been helping him like just build the entire business from like creating a list and creating a site and everything. And so he's got a list of like 6,000, a little over 6,000 people. And he just launched his first product. We priced it at like $500. It's a blockchain developer boot camp to become a blockchain developer. And he's done already 23 $3,500 in sales, and this is day 2.
Mm.
So it's like, so he's probably gonna hit, like, I'm gonna guess at this point 60K is what it looks like to me.
Mhm.
Not too bad for 6,000 person list, first launch.
Yeah.
Nice. His
He-
YouTube channel is all about blockchain, right?
Yeah, it's all about blockchain. Yep. So
Can I get an introduction? Because once I opened the gate to,
yeah.
hey folks, I'm starting new shows. I had a whole bunch of people go blockchain.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he would be probably a good potential host for your show, or at least someone to interview. But I think possibly a host, and I think he would be interested in that. In fact, I'll just message him right now.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
Interested in
Manny, I told John earlier, but Google banned cryptocurrency ads. You know you're in a hot niche like when that happens.
Wow.
So pretty much, yeah. If
Everything related to cryptocurrency.
Somebody, the report that I saw was that someone was in Google Keyword Tool, and they were doing reporting on cryptocurrency related keywords, and it was like a tail keyword too. It wasn't just the top one, and there were 0 results. And that is why. So I don't know the extent of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was pretty much a blanket ban.
That is amazing.
Yep.
So I have some good news. I finally heard back from the folks from Food Fight Show.
Oh, okay.
Which is a DevOps show that kind of it flailed about before it died. We'll put it that way. They, they were releasing. I think initially they were releasing like 2 or 3 episodes a month, and then it got down to like an episode every month or so. And yeah, the last episode they put out was in like October. And so I reached out and I said, hey guys, because I know Nathan and Nell from that show. And then so I was like, hey, can I just bring it into devchat.tv? And anyway, so they sent it through legal at Chef, because they both work for Chef.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And legal came back and said, nope, you're good. So we're working on now. I just heard this yesterday, so we're going to get the ball rolling as far as moving it over to DevChat. But Nell kind of made a point, and I'm trying to decide the best way to handle this. And that was, we may just want to start a new show. And so what I'm kind of leaning toward is like bringing Food Fight Show over to devchat.tv and then just changing the name. So we'd rebrand the show, but we would keep the URL, we would keep the RSS feed and everything else the same. And then essentially what we do is when we relaunched, we'd say, hey, look, DevChat's going to help us, make sure that this show goes out on a regular basis. And we thought that it would be nice to kind of get a clean break and to get a new brand name. And
yeah, I would go with a brand name that includes the word DevOps in the title.
Yeah.
Instead of Food Fight. I mean, I guess that was a playoff of Chef. But it's I read a quote by David Ogilvy this morning, and it was something about how like being clever in your marketing is like a crime against humanity.
Like, clever works as long as it's obvious.
Yeah, clever can work if it's attention getting and it gets the right kind of attention.
Right. But if it's I have to associate that these guys work for Chef, which does DevOps, so Food Fight, aha.
Yeah.
But in the 4 logical leaps removed.
But the flip side of that is as much as we're kind of picking on them for the name really mattered a whole lot less than a lot of other things. I mean, if you're releasing regularly and you're doing all of the other things right, it might make you slightly harder to find. But for the most part, most of my listeners anyway have come through word of mouth anyway, and so it won't kill you.
They probably had a platform too with Chef, like You know, they probably were tweeting about it on their Twitter, you know, their
Probably.
corporate Twitter account or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they had some visibility.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, no, that definitely makes sense to change. I mean, also just like the discovery. I mean, if it's like the DevOps show, or if you
Yep.
stick kind of with your theme and maybe call it like DevOps
DevOps
something.
Devils.
There we go, DevOps Devils.
Well, and that actually kind of keeps with the food theme there. So
Yeah. So I'm in. It's funny how all of this has kind of come together lately. So I'm talking to the guy that was starting the data science show on Monday, and they've already recorded like 3 or 4 episodes.
Okay.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, we'd like to get those produced and start producing more." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do that." I reached out to a few folks that had been interested in doing the developer leadership show, and so that's starting to get traction. I already had a couple people who wanted to be on the DevOps show if I ever got it rolling, so that's going. And then I talked to somebody about doing a .NET show because he's like, "Hey, you know, let's pull together a .NET show," and I'm just like, "Okay."
Yeah,
And
I think you should call it like .NET is awesome.
.NET rules.
there you go.
There we go. .NET rules.
No, Richard, I didn't rip you guys off. No. So one thing he suggested was that we use the same naming scheme for all of the shows. So any new shows I start would be like, so we have Adventures in Angular. So we would do like Adventures in DevOps and Adventures in .NET and Adventures in Open Source and Adventures, you know, whatever. So that people can readily identify that they're from DevChat, right? And so if they're used to our quality and production, then they kind of know what they're getting off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good for branding as well.
Yeah.
Overall.
So I'm kind of leaning toward that. I really like the idea as much as I like making up names for some of these.
No. That's really good. I think you should go with that.
Yeah.
If it's DevChat, then DevChat Angular, DevChat Java, DevChat this, DevChat that. That would be easy too.
Yep. But yeah. And then I had a good talk with Dan Bader.
Oh
yesterday.
Yep.
That was a solid intro right there. Of course, we start talking about doing a podcast, and he's saying, well, if I do a podcast, I need to have full control. So he's kind of OCD like I am. And he also said that he'd want to do it under his own branding. I said, well, when you get around to launching it, let me know. But he's totally willing to help intro me to people. So
okay, cool.
That's been good. And then I've reached out to Reuven Lerner, who has a Python book, who's currently a host on Freelancer Show.
Yeah.
And
wasn't he a Ruby guy?
He was.
Okay.
And that's how he found me. He was listening to Ruby Rogues, and then when we started Freelancer Show, after we'd been doing it for a while, he reached out and said, "Hey, can I be on the show?" And I was like, "Okay." You know, I talked to him first, but yeah. So anyway, it looks like we're pulling a bunch of these shows together. I also onboarded another show yesterday for sponsorship. They're right on the bubble of what I'm looking for as far as shows to find sponsorships for. And one thing that I'm finding is that how do I put it? I think it's going to be harder than I thought to find shows that have the kind of traffic that I want to find sponsorships for. I talked to one guy, and he basically said he had the kind of traffic I wanted, but he wasn't willing to release every week. And he was like, I just kind of want to do my own thing for right now. I'm like, okay. Because if they're not serious, I am not putting any effort into that.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But yeah, so anyway, I'm just trying to figure that out. I think the market is there or will be there soon, but I'm wondering, if Jeff wasn't right, that I might be just a hair too early. But that said, if I can get established now, then nobody will be able to catch me in 6 months when things change.
And you'll have the relationships with the advertisers, like the kind of exclusive relationships. I wonder with that guy that didn't want to release every week. I wonder if maybe like, how do you overcome that objection? Maybe you say something along the lines of, well, we can take you under the Dev Chat TV wing.
I offered all of it. I
And
offered
then-
to do that. I offered
Yeah.
to help them with production and promotion.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I just going to do it my own way. And I was like, well, I mean,
Even if he has to just show up and all you gotta do is show up once a week and just
That's what I
speak
told
into a
him.
mic. That's it. Everything else we take care of.
yeah, his major thing was that he wanted to control the production process and everything. So he's been self-editing. He's been editing his own shows in the whole 9 yards. And he's just like, I just can't get to the point where I can hand that off.
Okay.
And,
Well,
a handful of things like that. And I was like, okay, well, when it becomes too much
Exactly.
of a pain,
Yeah.
I'm here, right? I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want your show to die. So
Yeah.
if it comes down to that, come talk to me and we'll figure something out.
Yeah. Just make a list of those people and just come back and hit them up every like couple of months or so.
Yeah.
Especially if you start seeing them missing episodes and
Yeah.
You need what you need is like you'll need to get like some success stories, some testimonials of someone that's like, I used to like go to my special desk and record my podcast.
Yeah.
And it was so painful. And then Dev Chat TV made it so all I have to do is just speak into my microphone and everything is taken care of me, and I get a massage, shoulder massage while I'm doing the podcast as a perk.
Yeah.
So
I was listening to Brent Bouchard's on a podcast called Business Lunch, and it was interesting what he said. He was like, in the early days when he was trying to get his consulting and coaching clients, people would say no. And what he would do, most people would just like, once people say no, you just say, all right, fuck it, I'll move on to the next one. What Brendan would do is he would email them every week or 2 weeks with the new update or whatever he was doing. Like, hey, I thought of this. I think this was really useful for you. Hope you have a great day.
Yeah.
He would keep emailing them again and again and again. And he said he would literally convert like another 40% of the ones who had already said no first time around.
Yeah,
he would convert them. So the key was just to like be in their face, even if they've initially said no, and keep on adding value to them. And they will be like, okay, well, it wasn't, that's not how a lot of times we want to do these things, because we're like, fuck it, we're just moving on to the next person who is interested. But
Chuck has kind of a limited universe too, right? So that's
Yeah.
a good strategy.
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, and I've left the door open with all these folks. I'm like, my main concern is just making sure your show doesn't die. So,
Another good one would be like, and maybe what you could do with this guy too is you could say, hey, look, give me one of your raw episodes, like the next time you record an episode, and I'll have my editing team like just be like, yeah, you're not a professional editor, like it takes your time, but more so than the time it takes you is have you, like your show could be better if you had like you just tell them, hey, I've got the best editors in the world, like this is what we do, so let me take one of your shows and see if we can edit it better than you can. And give them to tell your editor to do really good job. And
fair enough.
To me, it sounds like in this situation, it wasn't that he was interested and he was throwing up objections. It was that he was not interested at all.
Yeah.
Is that fair, Chuck? I mean, like,
I think that's mostly fair.
Yeah.
I think, and they've produced like 20 something episodes over the last year.
Yeah. It's just like, you got to just kind of be, like Manny said, like the timing has to be right on this stuff. Like like if people, it's also different too, if people have some level of interest versus you contacting them completely cold, which is what you're doing here. It's not like they're shopping for anything like this. So you're hitting them with a brand new idea.
Well, and the other thing too, I'd say, I mean, even with that too, and just an approach technique is if you went out and you found like potential sponsor that sort of like, if that you talk to the sponsor and like, look, I don't have this guy necessarily, but and you've kind of negotiated a price already, and then you could go to him and be like, hey, look, so and so wants to sponsor, and this is what they'll they'll offer like I can get you the money right now, like
Yep.
then it could change someone's mind, right? Like the
Yeah.
possibility of money versus here's the money is a little bit different.
Yeah. Brian Kurtz is marketing. He was the head of Boardroom, which is one of the biggest direct mail companies in the US. And he had one time he had this guy come to him and ask to rent his list, and Brian has like these really high ethical standards as like in the direct marketing world. He's probably in the top 1% of people where he'll like walk away from stuff if it doesn't feel right to him. But this guy, he told a story about
the other guy
this
that cares in the marketing industry.
He yeah, exactly. So he gets this request to use the Boardroom list for this, basically just to sell the list. It's a physical mailing list, so there's really like it's hard for people to figure out how they got on this other mailing. It just sort of shows up. It's not like email.
Right.
But he wasn't gonna. He was like, he looked at the offer. He's like, this is not something I feel comfortable promoting. And then he said before he threw the offer in the trash, he turned the envelope upside down, and $100,000 check fell out. And he cashed it. And then so the kind of going along with it's hard to turn that away. But then he ended up really regretting it. The guy, it all came out. Like everybody figured out what happened, and he got burned on it. So,
right.
But yeah, it is really hard to turn that away.
Yep. Those March of Dimes people got it figured out. They send you.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm working through that, and then I think my next project is going to be. I'm kind of going back and forth on some of this too, but I've talked to a whole bunch of people. I recently had a Twitter conversation that I didn't initiate about remote live content for the programming community. And so I think I'm going to go back and start looking at, doing the monthly webinar kind of, users group meetup kind of thing online, so people feel like they have community online. But I'm kind of tempted to see if I can find somebody to run all that for me. Right. And so just kind of pull it together and then just be like, hey, you're responsible for lining up, I mean, I can reach out to people and line up the webinars and stuff, but just like managing the community and things like that.
So you're thinking about creating like a monthly subscription for podcast listeners where they can have a community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder like if I wonder if you even need to do the webinar component. I wonder if you could just make it very simple. I mean, where it's like just a discussion forum side of it, or just Slack channels or something, or discuss servers or whatever. Not discuss. What is it? Discourse. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Maybe.
Because the complexity is pretty large when you have like multiple, when you can't just like duplicate the thing, because you have a lot of podcasts, right? So
yeah,
like trying to do webinars means unique ideas, unique content. That's a lot of scheduling. Whereas if you have some kind of like system, like
I would bring in guests for the webinars.
Yeah, I know, but you have to get the guests.
Them.
Yeah, and you have to have them figure out the topics and whatnot. So, yeah. I mean, even if you did something like, I don't know, what if you did something like super, super simple, and it was just like just a Discourse server or something like that, and it was just like $3 a month or something like that. So it's like brainlessly stupid, small, maybe it's $5 a month. I don't know, something really, really simple where the main thing is like, instead of pitching the Discourse server, what you pitch is like support the podcast, like, support the community type of thing. And then as a bonus, you get access to our exclusive Discourse server, where you can, whatever, you can hang out but you're really just like doing it as a the main pitch there, and then it's only like $3 a month or $5 a month. You can figure out what the price point is. Then you don't have any like real responsibility, and it would work potentially for you because you have such a large audience. that you could actually make some money off of that small monthly fee.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, I can see that. And maybe I could offer that as kind of like a baseline level, right? You just get access to the forum. You don't get access to any of the extras. And then I can use that to kind of price anchor off for the other stuff. I'm not convinced that it's going to take that much more effort, though, to line up the speakers and then just, make sure somebody's there to make it go.
How much?
Everything has a cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be like, I mean, because you've got a lot. Like, well, the thing is that you're scaling the podcast, so.
Yeah.
So it's not like if you had one podcast and you're like, oh, I want to make a community and I want to get speakers and do a webinar every month. Okay, not a problem. But like what you're like, it's like you're creating a factory and it's the factory pattern, the abstract factory, right? It's like the factory has to make factories, right? And so the more complex the factory design is, the more complex the abstract factory has to be, right? Like, so that's what I'm saying is that like you're multiplying this complexity. Yes, it's a small thing, but then when you multiply it times, let's say that you multiply this times 100, because you eventually have like 100 podcasts. Now it's not a small thing. Then now you'd be wishing that you did the small thing.
So it's the 80-20 as well. Maybe you just do it for one podcast, which is the biggest, and you don't.
That's what I'm looking at right now. Yeah.
Just do it for the Java. Java.
If I do it for the JavaScript show, the other thing is that I'll probably wind up attracting some people in from the React, Angular, and Vue shows, and possibly some from the Ruby show as well. Anybody's doing web development, basically.
Yeah. You could run tests too, because you've got multiple shows, so you could try different ideas.
Yeah. Well, the thing is I could get, then if I start getting a whole bunch of demand for the Ruby community, then I could launch it, right? And I could essentially say, the other thing is once I figure out, okay, here's the point where I think it's actually worth doing, so many people are in, then I could turn around and I could say, okay, well, then when I have twice as many of those people on the wait list for the other one or something.
I don't know. This seems like a huge distraction to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like something that would be a marginal. I feel like the added revenue here would be like marginal at best, like 5-10%. not, and it adds a lot, like John said, it adds a lot of complexity. I don't see the clear. I guess I'm just not seeing a clear connection to what you're doing. Or
I should probably just run the numbers and make sure, that it.
Yeah, I mean, like look at it, like okay, look at how many people. Because basically you're adding again. This is adding another product or product line.
Yes,
and so you have to like. It's easy to think about that as an opportunity, but it's also like, well, now you have two problems because you've got to market this and you've got to market your other thing. So anytime, any momentum that you have, you're going to have to split it up to be able to grow the other thing. Like it's going to divert attention and energy. And like when people start talking immediately about, oh, I'll just bring somebody in to do this.
That's true.
Like it has to be like it real. I'm firmly believe that like the entrepreneur has to own the vision and really run with it, and and for like a long time. And if it's not something that you're able to do, if you'd have to execute it several times and then get it on autopilot, like you've done with like you have the podcast systematized, but
so basically, damn it, Chuck, keep making fucking podcasts. Have you seen Jiro Dreams of Sushi? You make the fucking sushi. That's what you do.
So going back to the original discussion of like trying to get clients for your done for you podcasting service, I feel like that's a distraction too, compared to just if you're going all in with the network and trying to build a network, then That's all there is. Like that should
Well,
be the
bring. That's just another way of acquiring podcasts, though. To me, that is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part
It's
of
not the
yeah.
core business. It's
Well,
just another.
Well, it is, because if he's like, okay, the food fight thing is a good example. Like, this is essentially, he's basically, absorbing this other podcast that already has an audience and making it part of dev chat. So that is, to me, that is just as good as launching, or better than launching your own.
Yeah.
Like if you, because then
because you start with 1,000
you start with
or so
you start with a
subscribers.
base. So
yeah, and you're acquiring the rights to the podcast.
Yes, the
Okay,
whole
good.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to go for that every time.
Is different from doing podcasts for them, done for you podcasting services being pitched to people.
Well,
because anytime you have to pitch podcasting services to people, now you're starting a whole new marketing and sales channel to make that business work as well, and that adds complexity.
Yeah,
it's a cost.
I think there's some merit to what you're saying, Manny, just in the sense that, if I'm focused on starting new shows for devchat.tv, and I'm also focusing on, finding people to sell podcasting services to, be it finding them sponsors or, doing the editing for them or things like that, then I am splitting my focus. I mean, that because it's not the same people I'm going to for both necessarily.
Well, I would consider it like that it's all part of your network, even if it's like some of the things you own, but it's because, well, the big play you're doing here, and I think this is like the key thing, like anything that interferes with this, you should drop. So maybe Manny's right in this case, if it interferes with this, which is that you're building a media network, right? Which is arguably the most powerful and profitable type of company you can build currently in the world, right? Like a media network is huge, right? Think about, and that's what you're building, and that's got to be your mission. So I mean, you've got the business that can go up to, can be worth $100 million, right? Because you're building a media network, right? And it starts here. It starts with the podcast. It starts with developer podcasts. So everything that you're doing needs to be to that, because once you control enough media, then you've got the advertisers, and you've got, like, I mean, there's so much that you have, and you look at, all these companies that have media networks, plus you're a purchasable, I mean, you're like, you could be bought out. Like there's so many options, and that's the thing that you've got to think of this as, I think, is not just your project anymore, but as you're building
if you look at the grand scheme of business, there's shit ton of podcasts done for you people out there. There's like just too many of them. Like every day someone's
there are a lot of them.
Whole, like, hey, I'm gonna start my whole podcast done for you shit, right? There's probably like 5,000 of those today in existence doing that for you. So Chuck doing that isn't really anything new, isn't really a value add in the grand scheme of things compared to Chuck starting different podcasts and really building the brands and like focusing the energy on building the brand, the DevChat brand of Podcast Network, and like all of those things that you said, John, which is along the lines of, making it build scalable and making it sellable, and all of those things, those require time and energy and effort and mental bandwidth on his part that should not be spent on done for you podcast service. You literally can buy that shit off the shelf today.
The one area of that, though, that isn't offered is the find a sponsor for you in this particular niche.
But should you be doing that is a question that
I think I see, Chuck, I see it as what you're doing right now is adding impressions that you can sell, right? So I think if you got a .NET Rocks, even if they stayed branded as .NET Rocks and they worked through you to get there, like, to me, that's a huge win, and that's expanding, and that's not deviating from your mission right now. But getting like recruiting little podcasts just with the done for you thing is not.
You got to find big ones. Yeah, for sure.
Should you?
Well, on the editing and the production front, that what you're saying makes total sense. Like going out and chasing them, if they come to me and the marginal cost for adding them to my system is negligible, which it is, and they're going to pay every month, then it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But
there's a cost for everything.
there is a cost, but as far as any of the rest of it goes, yeah, going out and trying to find podcasts that want me to produce, do the production on their shows, yeah, that's chasing a different market.
Chasing a different market, different marketing, different sales, different cycles of like customer acquisition. All of that is a pain. Like I mean, even Podranch versus this, I think they're two completely different businesses.
They are.
You have to actually decide which one you're going to pursue. You can't really pursue both of them and split your focus and try to be like, okay, I'm going to do this and that, and try to grow both of them to multi-million-dollar businesses. I think one of them has to be done right now.
The other angle, though, on Podwrench is that I'm building the tool that I need anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I may as well offer it to other people.
It's the same shit, man. Like, again, every time I think it's really easy to tell ourselves that I may as well do this and I may as well do that and I may as well do this. But if you were singularly focused on building a podcast network, which you want to sell for $20 million in 5 years' time or $100 million, whatever it is, then you would have a very different perspective on a lot of the things.
That's true.
Like, okay, I'm building a brand, DevChat brand, which I will sell as a podcast network when we have 1 million listeners across the board, and I'll get out of this business, and then maybe I'll do Podwrench or whatever.
Right.
But if that is the goal, like 1 million listeners across the network, now you're actually doing different things compared to, seeking out this guy for this money or seeking out this guy for that money. It really boils down to the purpose, the ultimate purpose.
Yeah.
I go back to that quote from As a Man Thinketh. He said, to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of the strong ones who make all conditions serve them.
Right.
It's like you're using every condition to serve your ultimate purpose. But if you're not clear on the purpose, then it's very easy to get distracted with every little opportunity to make money.
No, that makes sense. And to your point, I mean, if Podwrench is really going to, make a difference for my production processes, it's going to save me the kind of time and money that allows me to launch more shows and do the podcast network better or whatever that, I don't know, but do it better than I am now, then I can put the time into getting it built. But yeah, I shouldn't spend as much time or effort or money, or really any, to go out and promote it and, get, and things like that. If people wind up kind of coming to it on their own and it's not, but again, then there's the, there's the cost of support, right? And is that going to take away from my overall, focus? And I should be focusing, I think, on devchat.tv at this point.
Yeah. It's a separate business. I think Manny's got me convinced as well. Like at the point where you can hire a separate CEO to run that business and to build that business, then it makes sense to monetize that. But at this point, it doesn't, right? Just build it for yourself. But yeah, if you had a completely independent business and someone else was, their objective was sell and promote this software, and you hired them to be the CEO of that company and run that, then that would make sense to me. But Manny's got a good point. I mean, really, like if your goal, like if you build, 1 million subscribers and you can build a business that you can sell for $20 million, right? It's like, I mean, I don't know what the actual number is, but definitely like as you're building a media empire, if you build a media network, we know that media networks are highly purchasable assets, especially when they're clean, when there's no other shit attached to the revenue. If it's just like literally all you do is sell impressions, I think that's like it's such a straight, easy purchase, right? It puts you in that position where someone can value you in your company. Whereas if you have all these little side things you're doing, also it makes it messy, for someone doing due diligence to try and acquire you, and how do they maintain all these things. Whereas if it's like just simple, all we do is we have podcasts, we make the podcasts, we sell the advertising space on the podcasts. There you go.
Yep. That makes sense. I won't play with the other toys. I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
How's the Facebook advertising doing, guys?
We'll just hire someone to do it. That's it. We'll just hire.
We talked about this momentarily last week.
Which was Monday.
Oh yeah, this week, Monday.
We shut it down. Shut
her down.
Now what?
Yeah. I don't know. There was zero traction. That's the thing.
Because we didn't have chatbots.
Yeah, we didn't have chatbots.
Either chatbots.
Definitely. Yeah, there was just nothing happening at all. We got some good. So we switched. We did about 3 weeks worth of promotion of 10 steps to learn anything quickly. John did a live. So the way that they set it up was John did a live stream about it, which went great. Like people loved it. Went bananas. We were getting like insanely high watches on that live stream, and then
just do more live streams. Then do one every week.
That's the whole problem. Is it's not that's not really a funnel. I mean, that's just like another content distribution channel that you pay for at that point. Yeah. So we did get a bunch. We did get some sales that Facebook tracked, but I'm pretty sure that they were people that were signed up for the email list that saw John's live stream and were already kind of like in the funnel thinking about this anyway. Because we weren't seeing full price sales come through. We were seeing discount. I only saw like a couple full price sales, and the rest were all discount code, which they only get if they're on the email sequence. So Facebook is super leaky, and you end up sucking your current audience in, and it screws everything up because you can't really evaluate the long-term success of anything, because Facebook is just like, it's like Facebook advertising is so hit or miss. It's like you'll have and most people have this problem. You'll have a promotion, it'll go really well, and then it dies. Facebook kills it because once the reach gets to a certain amount, like they don't want to keep showing the same ads to people all the time, so they'll kill it. And like so you end up with these spiky promotions where it's like maybe every third or fourth promotion hits, and then you've got a good 3 or 4 weeks, and then it dies. And it's like that's the cycle that most people experience with Facebook. There are ways of dealing with that, but it takes a lot of trial and error to get there, to get to the automated.
What did these guys say? Your
as far as like what they thought the problem was?
Yeah.
They didn't really have a good explanation for it. Like what we saw was like really good, really like we were getting. I've looked at the campaigns and everything, and I don't think that they did anything like egregiously wrong. It all looked very reasonable to me, and we always got good engagement up to, it's like it was the last mile problem. Like we'd get good engagement, like with the emails, we were getting great open rates, like sky high open rates, great click-throughs, and then off the, no sales. And then with the Facebook campaigns, it was the same way. We'd get really good engagement, like we were getting 2 cent video views, with reasonable looking audiences that were defined on lookalike audiences based off of our own, our own customers. Like they would
what
take
was the cost per acquisition?
Well, for the 10 steps, we were not doing email for that. So that the 10 steps one was purely video sales page.
Okay. Yeah. What was the cost per acquisition?
It was infinity.
Yeah, I mean infinity. It was like we were paying a few dollars a click into the sales page, but then they weren't buying. Yeah, so effectively, it was effectively, there's nothing. That's why there was no, nowhere to get your fingers under it to start working on it. It was just,
it was like, let's keep on throwing money into this hole until we fill it up.
Yeah.
How deep do you think this hole is? I don't know. I haven't heard any money hit the bottom yet. But just keep on tossing the money in there.
Yeah. And they basically agreed. Like I basically said, look, we're they had suggested some things that we could try. Like they wanted John to do another live stream. They wanted to rework the landing page to move the call to action higher, which all would have been good stuff to try. But I looked at it, I'm like, guys, like I'm not seeing anything here. Like there's no.
How much did you spend on the ads for this campaign?
For this campaign, probably like $1,500.
And one sale?
Facebook said we got 7 sales. According to Facebook, they probably would have said that we made $300 to $500 off of it.
Gross.
I didn't see any sales come through that I was like, oh yeah, that's we're obviously getting some sales from Facebook here. They were all like
your email subscribers,
like people that were all coming in through the
They're
email.
discounted sales, yeah.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Yeah, because even if they did, it would still not make sense from
right
because they're discounted sales. So
yeah,
So net, how much did you guys end up spending on this whole endeavor?
Probably $10,000 to $12,000.
Yeah,
including the cost you paid to the agency and
we paid about $6,000, I think, to them, and then probably about $6,000 in ads.
Yeah,
and we made back maybe $2,000 or so, or $1,500 or something somewhere in that ballpark. Or we were attributed that much was attributed to campaigns, so it was pretty far off from working.
Yeah.
So what did your tuition get you? What did you learn?
The same lesson we keep on fucking learning when we try to hire people and have them do shit for us, which is that you cannot be the financier.
Dude, you cannot say this lesson because this is a freaking argument we had like 6 months ago.
I know, but we did this before. We've done this multiple times, and every time we're like, well,
in fairness,
sort of like, because you either have to be running the project and then hiring people to do the work, or
in fairness,
I mean,
I know enough about Facebook ads that I'm able to assess the quality of people's work in this area.
Okay, so
and I watched, it's basically they were not able. We've taken multiple cuts at this ourselves.
Yeah,
and with similar results, they got better results than we got, and I got on my own. Meaning like we were getting much more engagement. We were getting, a pretty good amount of traffic, and it was high quality by the standards of Facebook advertising. So,
but still, what we didn't do was we weren't completely involved in the project and the situation, right? Like it was like that's where the lesson. That's why I'm saying like you can't be the financier. Like you have to either be running the project yourself and then hiring people to do the work, but you're the one who's the overseer of the project, or directly partnering with the person that you're working with, right, in order to be there and to make it start working. And so like for in this instance, right, we could have potentially had more success with this had we been right there helping to create the content, creating unique videos and unique content for the funnel and sales page and like email sequences and things like that. But then that would require a huge amount of work. Like we're kind of like the value proposition here was like, okay, well, you guys can just make us money. Right. And that it's a tempting value proposition all the time. It's like, well, so we can just pay you money and then you'll just make us more money. Right. And we kind of fell into that same trap again because
I actually think that for me, I think that there were two things that I'm taking away from this, which is one is for paid traffic to work, you have to engineer a product based off of paid traffic. Like, I think that is kind of unarguable. Like, I've not seen many cases where people
not engineer the product, but engineer the marketing.
No, engineer the product. You have to engineer the product because the product is the marketing.
Yeah, but the product doesn't matter. The
Yeah.
product.
I know we disagree. I know we disagree on this. The product totally matters.
No, the product can
Gary-
be anything you want. You can make
no,
up the product. You can just
Gary,
be like,
Gary
You can,
Benson.
okay, here's the thing. You can do all the marketing and the product delivery can happen after.
yeah,
There can be no product until the sales have come in.
that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
Is that's
but
why
you have to. Right,
you could
but
you could test 5 different product titles. You can be like this whatever it is, like
right, but
this,
you have to. Yeah, but you have to actually test. You have to work from the traffic forward and not start with the product and try to retrofit the traffic to it. That is so. That's
I don't know,
one thing.
man. That's something that's I'm finding hard to to agree with, because we've seen way too many instances of not way too many instances. It's just the fact that a product, if it's good sellable product, it doesn't matter whether it's coming cold traffic or email traffic.
Yes,
you're gonna
okay,
find a way to make
but
the marketing work. If the product,
the problem is, Manny, that's a selection bias. You're saying it's a good marketing a good product. Well, the people that you're seeing having success with that, you're not taking into account the 90 or 95% of people that are failing with that same approach. So
yeah, but assumption that approach they're failing is because of the distinction in the product compared to, because they had bad marketing. We don't know which one is the case. That is an assumption you're making.
just take the product out of the equation. You don't need a product, right? And again, you don't need a product. Like, imagine that you had a product. Like, you can have any product that you want, and you can have 100% refund rate. It's fine. Okay, now do the marketing for it. Now do paid marketing for it. Okay, that's the frame I'm coming from. Like, obviously, you're going to build a product, and obviously it needs to be good, and obviously you can't have 100% refund rate. But if you didn't have those constraints, if you remove those constraints, you said, okay, any product you want, 100% refund rate, go. Okay, now the advertising is a totally separate problem, and if you can solve that problem, then you can build a product that will work on the back end of that, right? So that's why, like, I feel like you have to separate the two out. I can't find any reason why that's not true. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the marketing is marketing. Like, that's it. Like, can you market something and advertise it effectively enough that you can make money regardless of what it is?
Yeah, not every time. Yeah, I agree.
all right, well, so Reader's Digest had a division selling books. Okay, the way that they decided what books that they were going to sell was they did a 5-level set of tests with direct mail. They started with no product, so like what you're saying, John, but they would send out a mailing with 6 titles and blurbs, and they would have people check would buy, would not buy, and they did 5. Then they did 5 or 6 levels of this before they would create the product, and they had a very close to 100% hit rate on the books when they actually produced them. That is that approach versus like just trying to come up with a product and then reverse engineer the marketing, like that doesn't really work.
Well,
you need to start with the demand and what people actually want and what you can sell on a given platform.
Yeah, I mean,
we're talking really abstractly about this.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it didn't work. And so what I was mostly curious about is not okay, well, can this work in general, but what specifically would you do differently next time?
Okay, so and to add to that question or to add to that framework is the understanding that paid media works, paid advertising works. So whatever you didn't work doesn't mean that paid media doesn't work or paid advertising doesn't work.
Paid media works in some cases, and with some business models. It does not. I mean, the number of people that actually make Facebook advertising work is probably 5% of the advertisers on Facebook.
The number of people who make email marketing work is probably 5% of people who actually do email marketing.
No, it's
people
actually
who make a blogging business work is probably 0.1% of people who have a blog. Number of people who make a YouTube business.
5% of email marketers make it work. I think that's optimistic.
Yeah.
No, it's actually
Because
not.
people have to freaking do the work.
1% of bloggers actually make money. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's optimistic too.
But
That's an interesting
yeah.
way of looking at things. Like, but it's true. Like we're like in the top percentile, the top 0.1 percentile of like of bloggers, YouTubers,
Yeah.
you know, podcasters, whatever, you know, because most of them are not building businesses and making money, right?
Yeah. So if that is true, then just making this work is just another one of those like things that will take time and energy and effort to make it work.
Is it
Like,
worth the time, energy, and effort though to make it work?
Well, this is the lesson though. This is the lesson. Okay. You have to, like, we have never had success with things where we were not completely actively involved in them. I mean, even
Yeah.
even the one that we've got going now, which is like that we've had for a long time, that is, it's not unsuccessful, but it's not successful, which is that we have a editorial team that manages the blog, that runs the Simple Programmer blog now. They get articles, they produce them, they get writers, they do a great job, they do an excellent job, but they don't get us traffic. But when Josh like says, I'm going to create an article about this, and specifically targets an article to create, we get a ton of traffic from it, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
like there's some reason why like you just have to be involved in it, or have, you know, a key person. It's a whole generals versus soldiers thing that I like to talk about. Is like, you know, you can't ever hire you know, soldiers to do generals work, and we keep on seeing this, you know, just over and over again. Every time we hire out someone or some service, it's never profitable for us to do. But if we do the project ourselves, or, you know, we can hire help to help us do the project, then we can have success. And I think it's the same thing. I think we won't make paid advertising work until we actually get our hands, and it's not just like play with it for a little bit. Like, I'm talking like spend 6 months, you know, pouring into Facebook advertising, you know, spend 6 months writing the copy, trying different videos, trying different leads, trying different, you know, ways to convert people. I think until we're willing to put in all of that effort, we're not going to get it to work, because
Okay.
that's the lesson.
So,
that's just the lesson.
I agree with that 100%. It's any endeavor we pick up, we need to be involved initially to make it work. Until it works, we have to be involved. Once it works, now you can have the people repeatedly do what works. But
that was what I was going to ask is, yeah, at what point then? Because, I mean, for example, the podcast production, right? I'm not involved in that anymore day to day. I mean, I'm in the channel and I do answer questions, but it's probably 1 or 2 a week tops. And
Right.
It's usually specific to the episode, not to the process. So what you're saying, because I want to bring this all the way around, right? You don't want to have to be you don't want to have to be the person doing this the entire time, right?
Right.
Forever.
No. But you have to make it
But
work
if you're
first.
involved enough for 6 months to kind of figure out the ins and outs, and then you bring somebody in and you clarify some of the stuff for them so that, again, the ins and outs get handled, but now they understand them at the level, you know, 80-90% that you did, then they can run ahead with that. And that's where I've gotten with the production stuff. And that's where I'm starting to work to get to with the sponsorship stuff now.
Yeah.
I think the distinction here, or the other way to look at it, it's not that you have to be involved to see it work. You actually have to make the damn thing work with that person. First of all, either yourself or with that person.
Yeah.
And once the damn thing works, now you can like tell them, okay, well, I know this works. We made it work. This is the process. Or
Yeah.
you and I have made it work. This is the process. Now go do it, make it better, optimize the shit out of it.
It's
But
like,
the assumption that you can just hand it off to them and let them run with it and make an amazing like money maker for you, it's pretty dangerous.
no, it's like spinning a basketball on your finger, and then you're like, okay, put your finger out here. Okay, here you go. Now I'm spinning the ball for you, and now take your hand, and now you're spinning the ball. Okay, right? That's how it's got to go.
Well, and I'm running into this too with show running, for example. You know, so we just started the open source sustainability show. we started, or I started, getting more involved in the React Native show because they weren't releasing every week. And yeah, I mean, it's one thing if it's the model of Chuck and Chuck's team are going to schedule all of the content. It's another thing when the model is, hey, we're going to get all these other people to get in and, start scheduling the content and making sure that people show up, because I'm not on the show every week. And so,
Right.
so we're solving these different problems. Now, some of them are pretty close to what we're already, we've already solved for the shows that I'm directly involved in. But still, it's, there's a learning curve there too when you adapt something.
Yeah, there is a learning curve. And the bigger learning curve is going from 0 to 1. From 1 to 10 is much easier.
Yeah.
Right? 1 to 10, 10 to 100 is much easier. 0 to 1 is where the biggest pain is. That's where the biggest frustration as an entrepreneur is, to take something that's not returning positively to make it return positively. And now you can have 100x that.
Yep.
So that lesson learned, what would be the next step in terms of making this work? Or are you guys gonna again try paid media at some point, or are you saying fuck it, we're just gonna come back later at it? Like, what's the second?
It's not the best use of time or money at this point. There's still a lot of untapped potential that is coming for, because we have free traffic. If we can't make money off of free traffic, there's no point on trying to make money off of paid traffic. It's just ridiculous, and we're not really making the money that we could be off of the free traffic. And we've got a lot of free traffic coming in, so
traffic is not your problem is one thing I would agree with.
Yeah, we got to create the product, the unified product, that the single offering and the messaging around that offer, and build a good funnel to convert that singular product. And then once we have that running and working, and we're maximizing the revenue that we can from the free traffic that we're getting that's going to that, then it makes sense to go back and visit the paid advertising and work it from the ground up.
Yeah, traffic is not your problem. If only you use paid advertising for retargeting, that itself would be enough for a lot of the money you guys could make from it.
Yeah.
So what are you going to have done by next week then? If that's your direction, what immediate steps are you taking?
For paid advertising?
No. For the product.
Well, I've got to finish up these stupid books, and then my next steps is to create the course outline for the product offering, to come up with that and then start producing that for the complete software
course outline for the product offering.
Yeah. So.
And that's going to be $1,000 plus, because I think price point is a huge variable in this whole equation that we didn't talk about. That to make $100 or $200 price point work on Facebook is really difficult in today's market. Was possible maybe 5 years, 7 years ago. Today, it's almost impossible to convert.
It's hard. It's hard to make it work profitably, but it's not. It should be relatively easy to make sales at that price point.
Right.
I get it.
Right. If we were seeing if we had seen 20 or 30 sales come in.
Yeah.
Even if we were losing our shirt on them, I would have been excited, and that would have been well worth diving in and, starting to because then you've got something to work with. The problem is when you send 2,000 clicks through a funnel, and we probably got close to 1,000 clicks on the sales page and got nothing. Versus, and we got probably 5 to 10,000 interactions with the ads. So that's called DOA right there.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I'm trying to kind of look at the whole picture of the conversation we've had today, and I feel like we're all pointing to a general problem of distraction.
Yeah, that's fair.
Of
One other thing I
distraction
want to throw out there as far as the paid advertising goes is that a lot of the sales conversations I have with people are usually based around some form of having trust. And, so if you're trying to make a cold sale for $200, I agree that's a hard sell. But if you were bringing them into some level of here's the content that we're putting out, and
Well, that's
here's
exactly
how you get to know us.
exactly how this works, Chuck. The whole idea with Facebook nowadays is like nobody tries to do cold sales. The way it works is you set up a 5 to 10 or more video. It's like video. It's
Right.
like supposed to be, they're seeing you, they're hearing you, they're watching you. If they watch
Right.
30 seconds or a minute, they move on to the next one. And so
Uh-huh.
you're supposedly building trust, by showing them good content and
Right.
delivering value and all that stuff. And they don't get the pitch until they get to the end of that.
Right.
So it's
Okay.
essentially, that's exactly what this was. So I agree. I mean, I think the trust thing is huge.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah, I'm gonna go kill some efforts after we get off this call.
I think. I
don't think the paid thing is a distraction because
What paid thing?
well, for us, like I don't think paid traffic is a distraction at all because I don't think we have enough organic traffic to support a large amount of additional revenue without some really, really high end offers. Like where I'm talking like $10,000, $20,000 things like a mastermind or something, because the traffic that like if you look at who's actually buying things from us, whether it's affiliate offers, whether it is or just our regular products, it is those people have such a high level of engagement that in order to sell them something else at a $300 to $500 price range, it's not really going to make that much of a difference. We need 10 times more of those people to have a really good launch. Yeah, we do, Manny. I mean, the average level of people that are buying, the average engagement level of people that buy anything from us is like 200 or 300 points in drip average, which means that like 0.1% of the people that come onto the list right now are really ever going to buy anything. And that's just not like you can't grow when that's the reality.
That's not the reality though.
Yeah.
That's the reality currently we're kind of selling stale potato chips right now and then saying that, people don't like food. And that's not really true.
When we do affiliate stuff. When we do affiliate offers, John, like if you go and you do look at any of the affiliate offers that we've sold in the last, what was the most recent one? Oh yeah, the Get a Raise book from Josh Duty. Average sale was basically went to somebody who was like a 300. It was like 250 points in drip in terms of engagement, and we only get like a few, maybe 20 or 30 of those people a month.
Yeah, but the reason why is because we're not training people to that content. If people joined our email list and then we're like, hey, the reason why you suck in life is because you don't know how to negotiate your salary. And then next week we're like, hey, by the way, like, this dude negotiated his salary and he's now, living the pimp life. Like, and then, hey, by the way, like, this is one of the biggest tips that's going to help you to.
So what's the salary negotiation for Simple Programmer then?
That's why the thing we have to
what's the one theme we're going to stick to
with the Complete Software Developer Career Guide?
That's not a theme. That's like 30 themes. That's the problem. We're going to bring them in, and there's 52 chapters in that book, and they all talk, or 60 chapters, and they all talk about something different. So we're going to have to bring people in. What are we going to talk to them day in and day out about that's consistent? we don't have. It's
It-
too many
it's real
things.
simple. It's real simple. The message is that, look, you as a software developer, you need to actually have a guide for your career, a direction for your career, and and understand the issues that you face, and actually have goals and a direction for yourself and a training. And no one is giving you that. No one, like, just working your job, just going to work and just applying for jobs. That is not a career direction or goal or path. This is the path. This is the guide. This is the resource. This is the thing that you need in order to develop your career as a software developer and go wherever that you want to go. That's the message, is that this is the guide. This is the thing. This is the thing that you're not getting, the wisdom, the advice you're not getting from anywhere else.
I think to Josh's point, this is something that I have struggled with as well. Every time we have this conversation, I feel like the complete software developer's career guide is too broad and generic. It's like saying the complete podcaster's career guide, or the complete real estate
I should write that.
professional's career guide, or the complete attorney's career guide. Like, none of those will sell as good as how to market your podcast and get 10,000 downloads per month, or how to, podcaster's paradise in some ways. What John Lee Dumas was selling was how to make money from podcasting.
Yep.
What if you look at the blogging, like any of those courses you go by, there's a very specific end result that they were trying to sell. But I feel like the career guide is very broad, as in it's trying to sell everything, and that to me is a little more difficult as a sell compared to how to market yourself or anything like that, where it's very clear what the end result is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got the. Am I still frozen?
No.
Okay.
Exactly.
We've got. We're going to have a different value proposition, right? Because we're going to have it divided up into the 3 categories, just like the book is, right? And so, really, at the lowest level, we're going to be teaching people how to become software developers and how to be successful software developers, right? That's really at the lowest level. That's the entry level product. At the mid-tier product, we're telling them how to manage their careers. At the high-level product, we're telling them how to become, how to make more money, how to become senior, how to become freelancers, how to really maximize the profit that they're making from their software development career, right? So there's the 3 tiers of it. But the biggest argument for this is simply that this is our best best money-making product, right? And we're getting free exposure for this. This is like there's what you think the market wants, and there's what the market wants, right? And we have the book out there, and people are buying the book, right? Continually. So we know that people want this. There's not a question about this, right? So that's why, yes, I agree with everything that you guys are saying. If I were to start a brand new business from scratch right now in the programming space, I would pick a very small niche and a very targeted offer of exactly what am I going to do for you. I'm going to teach you how to do X, and this is the result that you're going to get from that. But in this case, we already have, like, it's foolish to take our best flagship product and to not utilize that to build the business around. And yes, in the short term, a very, very targeted offer would do better. But in the long run, we can own a much larger space, which is a software developer career, right? It's a bigger space. It's harder to target that precisely. But if you're known to be the company that people go to get their for their software developer career, like the ultimate guide, the ultimate place for that, that's a huge market, and we have the capability to hit that and to actually own that space.
Yeah,
I know we've talked about this in the past, but why don't you guys do a pre-sale to see what the interest level is on it?
My main. Yeah,
it's not because it doesn't work that way. See, this is the whole thing, right? Okay, I just went through a launch in this space with my coaching client, right? Okay. He has 6,000 people on his email list. He's going to launch a $60,000 launch at a $500 price point.
If you told me the numbers up front,
Mhm.
I would have said $50,000 with what he's doing.
Okay.
Because it's red hot. No, because of the niche. It's the niche. It's Bitcoin. If you do this in Ruby, you would not be able to. You would not have the same results.
No, you would have the same results. The key, because blockchain is definitely not like Bitcoin is hot, but blockchain developer is not even close to hot. Like people have to be educated what this is. They have to be
very hot.
It's red hot, John.
hot.
It's probably the top. I see more questions and people saying they like wanting to get into blockchain than almost anything else I can think of right now. Like,
I don't think so. People have to be educated on this because there's a lot of people that understand or know Bitcoin, but there's not a lot of people that are actively looking to start a blockchain development career.
I mean, people make the association. Okay, if I want to get into the Bitcoin space, blockchain development is like the hard thing to do. I disagree with you, John. Like,
okay, fine. I retract really my statement. Fine, it's popular. Let's say it's popular. I retract. I pedal back. All right. I don't want to go down this path. You win. You guys got it. It's popular. All right. Okay, but regardless, the reason why he's successful and he's making money and on this launch and why he has such a high hit rate is because his messaging from the very beginning, when people first made contact with his offerings, was the same thing. I'm teaching you how to become a blockchain developer. Okay. His messaging was consistent over time. This isn't most of the people that are buying. It's not like they just suddenly sign up for the list and now he's promoting the product and they're buying. They've been watching some videos, right? They've been on the list for a couple of months. Okay. They've been getting his emails. They've been seeing his blog posts. They've been hearing him on podcasts, all talking about the same thing. That's why you can't just do a pre-sale for the complete software developer career guide and then say, okay, is this successful or not? Because you have to create the product, and then you have to create the messaging around it, and then that can happen while you're creating the product. In fact, that's probably best, is to talk about how I'm creating this product, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm making this thing, and this is why it's so valuable and so important, so that people are persuaded when it actually launches to buy it because they're interested in that thing and that messaging.
You are 100% right on that. 100%. I agree with you all the way. Here's what's another angle to look at. If you had the audience where it is today in the overall scheme of things, could you not test the overall interest level by just asking this question? Hey, are you guys interested in buying this? And that test would be as simple as offering them to buy it. And that test, it's a test, remember?
I have
a test that will give you data on either A or B is the winner in this grand scheme of things. It's just a test. It's not saying this is the end result, but it's a test of intent. It's a test of interest. That's why we call it a test. It's not saying that this will give you the end result, but it will test everything for you, as in, is this something that actually people have more interest in compared to anything else? Like, how do you evaluate it?
Okay, I'll tell you why that's not a good strategy. Because if you went, if you are walking through the vacation resort or casino, and the timeshare salesman person, if they say, hey, just one quick second, if you don't mind, can I ask you a question? Are you interested in buying a timeshare? Oh, no, you're not? Okay, all right then. Yes. Okay. Right. No, that's not the technique that they do. They say, hey, would you like 2 free tickets to SeaWorld? Right. All you got to do is just come to our thing. Oh, what is it about? It's not, it's just, yes. Do you make over $40,000 a year? Okay. All right. Sign up. Right. And then you sit down in the chair and you have no plans. You turn to your significant other and you're like, yeah, we're not buying any of this shit. Okay, we're not buying this shit. And then she's like, yeah. Let's just get the fucking SeaWorld tickets, right? And then you sit down and then they show you this awesome vacation, and they some guy comes up and he tells you about these stories of these people, and then an hour goes by, and then all of a sudden you're like, I think I want a timeshare, right? And maybe you snap yourself out of it, but maybe you don't. But that's how they make the sales, and that's what they're counting on. And it's the same.
You're right.
This should have come with a trigger warning. I've been through those before.
It's the same. It's the same thing here, because we have their ear. Okay, if you're just like trying to, if you don't have someone's ear, you're right. Like you have to find out what they want and build the thing and see what their interest level is. But if you have their ear, you can make them want whatever it is that you're selling. That's the key, and that's the power of influence, and that's right. Like you keep on hearing the message, and you're like, well, fuck. I mean, why do we have iPhones? Like, why? It's a fucking $1,000 piece of shit. Like, I mean, what do you really do with your fucking iPhone besides take pictures and text people? Really? Like, and use Google Maps. That's it. You don't need the fucking iPhone to do that. You could get like the 5-year-old version of it. It's because the message is in your fucking head over and over and over again, and you're like, I gotta have that shit. That's exactly what was happening, and that's why again, like when I started out with Simple Programmer, why with a very small list I was making so much revenue in comparison to the size of the list. Okay, and that's why we're making such a diluted revenue now, and that's why Gregory with his launch is successful. It's because that messaging, like you're actually influencing people to want what it is you're selling. I mean, when I started out with Simple Programmer, my product was how to market yourself as a software developer. I mean, possibly the worstly named product that you could ever sell to software developers, right? Because developers hate marketing and they don't have any interest in marketing themselves. Who even heard of fucking marketing themselves? Why would you want to do that? But what happened was, people heard me on podcasts. They signed up for the list. I was sending out emails. I was writing blog posts talking about marketing yourself as a software developer and why it's valuable and why you need to do this and why this is a critical skill. And that created the interest and the demand for it. That's my diatribe.
Yeah, you're talking about two different things here. One is creating a market and demand, and one is evaluating a market and demand. Evaluating whether there's already demand. Yeah, you can create a market and demand by doing marketing, by doing sales, and that is understandable. But it's different when you're trying to evaluate if there is already a need for that or not, or if there's something people are willing to buy today.
I'm doing it now with Bulldog Mindset, right? I mean, it's like, why are people buying Bulldog Mindset memberships? It's not because they set out to do this. It's because the message, right? They like dogs. That's right. That's it. But you see what I'm saying is like if you have a clear message, if you're telling people this is what their solution is, if you have their ear and you have a long enough time, if I have your ear for a long enough time, I can sell you anything, right?
I think.
See, I fundamentally disagree with that.
Then tell me how timeshare sales work.
Marketing cannot create demand.
Marketing cannot create demand.
Marketing cannot create desire.
No.
Yeah.
But sales can.
That's the first. That's
sales
the first thing.
You can twist people's arms. If you have people physically, you can twist their arms and make them do things that they regret later. But that's not this. You can't do that from behind a computer monitor.
Here's what I'm going to push, because I think there's some truth in both of these, what you're saying, in the sense that, to John's point, if you have a very clear message with a clear mission that people will identify with, they'll come on board for you. But I also agree that this doesn't work for every single market.
If you are consistently out there, if you're consistently out there with a specific message, the people that come on board agree with your message.
Yes.
That is how it works. That it's a filtering effect. It is not.
That's not true. That doesn't explain timeshare sales.
It's partially true. There are people that you will drive away with that message. But the flip side of it is that then you can start to influence their decision, because once people start hearing you and trusting you, then they let their guard down, and you can influence their opinions on things.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. But it's a long-term, anything that requires education is an extremely long-term extremely long term. Like we're
Right.
talking years, not weeks
years.
or months.
That's why the messaging is so
Years.
important.
Years.
From the very beginning, how to market yourself as a software developer, right? You can't argue that is not something. I mean, people are not looking for that, right?
No, but the
were not looking for
people,
that title, but people were looking to get a raise.
but
or
if
people
you
were
and
looking to
if you're
improve
on
their career.
if you're going out onto podcasts,
Mhm.
you have 20,000 people are going to listen to that podcast, and 100 of them sign up for your email list. You not see how that is an extreme, like you only need like 0.1% of the people to actually be interested in it for you to attract those people.
Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
I have to stop you guys. I
Okay.
really have to get off because I have to prep for another call.
Okay.
So,
But you can't stop this conversation, Chuck. This is too good of a conversation.
okay, keep going. I'll just sign off. I'm good either way, but yeah.
Well, here's the deal. Here's what I would propose, Josh. Okay, if what I'm saying, like, okay, I know my plan will work. Okay, I'm confident in my plan. I know that if I create the product and have the messaging around that product, that people will buy it and they'll be influenced to buy it. Okay, if you disagree with that, right, like with the Complete Software Developer Career Guide, okay, and you're currently the CEO of Simple Programmer, make us some money. You tell me the direction we need to go, and I will do what you want to do. But what I won't accept is just an objection to something that the direction that I think will work. You see what I'm saying? Is like I don't care. Like if you've got a way, if you're like, John, hey, here's a drawer full of money. All we got to do is just fucking open it. Let's open the fucking drawer. But if you don't have the drawer full of money, then then I'm gonna.
Okay, well let's redo and re-release 10 Steps to Learn Anything Quickly, and let's do a massive publicity blitz where you're going on podcasts and getting out there again and getting public, talking about 10 Steps to Learn Anything Quickly.
You cannot sell it at $100 though. You have to sell it at $500 to make it work.
Yeah, or we have
$800.
some kind of upsell version, where there's a coaching component to it, or some kind of group coaching component to it, or something more hands-on where it's more of an experience where people are going through it together. Because even like up until, if you look at, since we released the book, John, if you look at, we've still made more money with 10 Steps to Learn Anything Quickly than we have with the book. If you look at even though that product has died, we've still made more money from that by like 30% more money with that product, where we didn't have Amazon selling it for us. We had just our email list.
But the book will eventually exceed that revenue, and the book also generates a lot of leads that are most valuable leads. Which if you add that up, then
that's true. Well, if your plan's going to work, then what we need to do is prove that we can sell the book from the email list. The reason I'm so resistant to it is because I've tried to sell the book from the email list and I can't do it.
Right, because there's no messaging. Again, like you can't just make the transaction.
I've got to take off, guys. I'll catch you later.
All right, see you, Chuck.
Without the value, right? You have to have the value. You have to have the messaging, right? If I start writing, writing about the book and the value in the book and creating videos about it, then we'll be able to sell the book to the list. But a majority of the list has. A large portion of the list has the book already.
Let's do that and see if we can move the needle before we invest in
because we have to set the direction and the overall message of the company, right? Like it has to represent. Right now, it's scattered.
I agree.
So what are we trying to do in this world?
I agree, but I don't think that you need a plan for your career is a compelling enough message that people are going to get behind it, and that just doesn't. I don't think that's going to light anybody up.
I think
And
teaching people how to
too-
become successful software developers is I mean, that's a simplified message. We teach you
Yeah,
how to
but I
become a
mean-
successful software developer.
how is nothing that we've done in the last 2 years does not meet that criteria. It's not a, I mean, like, you know, I mean, the clever programmer Python thing helps people become
Yeah.
successful software developers, and you know, like, and that doesn't really give it's not really a,
Well, it's from the soft skills perspective. That's the one thing that we've been
that's
teaching,
still
but we
really
haven't.
broad. It's crazy broad. Like, you can, I mean, if you,
Okay, I've got 2 best-selling books, right?
yeah,
They're both like,
yes,
you see what I'm
yes,
saying? It's
no-
like soft skill. Like most software development books do not make over $100,000 in revenue, right? But we've got
Yes.
2 of them. One that's made over $500,000 in revenue, and one that's at what we're probably at like 150 or 200,000 on the other one, and it will eventually hit over that amount. So
would you agree that the threshold of terms of what people are expecting is higher when you're paying $500 for a course than when you pay $9.99 for a book?
no, and I'll tell you why. Okay, because people get the most fucking bent out of shape out of 99-cent apps. Like, if you really want to see someone get pissed off for being ripped off on a value that wasn't delivered, it's always on a 99-cent app, because it has nothing to do with price. I mean, think of it this way, okay? We just invested like $10,000 into Facebook advertising, right? And paying, right? Imagine if you paid like for a $10,000 product and it didn't do shit. Right? You'd be irate, right? But the point is that it's all about the expectation. It doesn't have to do with the price tag, right? That's like we should be like going over there and beating the hell out of those people, right? Over 10,000, but because the price doesn't matter. It's the expectation. If we do the 10 steps thing, I'm not opposed to it, but that means that we have to steer the entire ship and say that what we do is
what
we
I'm
teach.
saying. Yeah.
Our entire value proposition for the company needs to be, we teach you how to learn quickly. Is that the direction we want to take Simple Programmer? That's the question that I would have about that. I'm not opposed to like doing what you're saying, but if we do it, we have to do it all the way, right? Like this is like we're gonna have to. We don't have a crystal ball, okay?
Right.
So we can't predict the future, but I can tell you that the best success that we are going to have is going to be when we have all of the engines facing the same direction, that we don't have it split. So we say, okay,
Yes,
this
I
is
would
where the ship is
agree with
going.
that.
So that's why I'm saying, hey, let's make it about the complete software developer career guide. We already know that's a successful product. We already know that people want it.
And what I'm saying is that the complete software, like doing a course around the complete software developer career guide is taking 60 jets and pointing them in all different directions. And it's extremely difficult. Like, you can literally talk about almost anything as a software developer, and it is either in the career guide or is related to the career guide. So it doesn't give us any direction at all. And I know this because I've probably written 20 or 30 emails about the book, trying to sell it. Just, hey, buy the book. It will help you in this specific way. And you could literally write thousands of emails and never repeat yourself or repeat a topic coming out of the book.
Because the value proposition is not the specific things. It's the idea that, like, if I'm pitching the book, okay, and the concept behind it, or the course, I'm basically, and that's what I did when I was writing the book, was the whole value proposition is this: there is no complete guide for your software development career. There is no guide. Okay, it's like there's no manual for life. It's the same concept here, is that this is the guide. No one has ever written this before. No one's ever put this together before. No one's ever taken all of the advice and wisdom and the things you need to know as a software developer and taught it to you in this way before, from beginning to end. If you're starting out as a software developer, this is how to get started. This is how to, to make the decisions of how you should learn, whether you should go to boot camps or college or learn on your own. This is how you get your first job. This is how you, negotiate your salary and how you pick which company you want to work for, right? And if you're already a software developer, this is all the gaps. This is how you deal with the hard bosses and the coworkers that talk too much, and how you know how to dress, and how you know how to manage raises and salaries and weekly reports and all of these things. And if you're advanced or you're looking to become advanced, this is how you get speaking gigs, and this is how you start podcasts and blogs and build a business and become a freelancer. And,
John,
right, this is all of that stuff, and that's what we have to talk about.
John, what you're selling is the complete personal development guide.
No, complete software developer career guide.
I know, but when there are so many different things that are being offered, it's like the complete personal development guide, the complete personal development course. Has anyone ever sold a complete personal development course? Do you know of anyone selling the complete personal development course?
Yeah.
There's courses on productivity. There's courses on influence. There's courses on, becoming an expert and selling your knowledge. There are courses on mental toughness. There are courses on charisma. Who is selling a course on personal development?
Tony Robbins does.
What is this course?
Awaken the Giant Within is basically that. Right.
That's a book. Yeah.
UPW, the whole concept of UPW is essentially that, right?
No, UPW is not complete personal development course. UPW
is
unleash the power within.
It goes through everything, though. Even like the last days are on diet and nutrition, right? Like it goes pretty much.
Still, if you look at the sales and marketing of it, you will see that he's selling how to become, unleash the power that is inside of you or whatever. That's the marketing angle. Yeah. It's not the complete personal development guide.
The difference here is this, though. Like, if you're a software developer, it's your career. If you have a guide for your career, that is what you want and need, right? Everyone needs a guide or could use a guide for their career. The market has already spoken. The market is already buying the book, right? Like, without us advertising.
That's true.
So I just can't come up with a more compelling argument than that. That's like, if the book flopped, it would be a different story, but people are buying the book.
That's true.
People are not buying the book as a result of our efforts.
Exactly.
People are buying. But John, we have to sell the course. We have to be the ones to sell the course. Amazon's not going to sell it for us. Like, Amazon has, probably 200 million people using it every day, and we're selling a couple of books, so that's really good, but we don't have access to that to sell this course. We have to sell with the audience that we have, and if we can't sell the book to the audience that we have, then I don't see how we're going to sell a $500 or $1,000 course to them.
Simple.
Is my point.
We don't have to sell it to the audience we have. The audience that we have is changing every day. We have so much organic traffic that we have a new audience. I mean, how many new email subscribers do we get per month? Like around 3,000 new email subscribers, right? Those are all new people. I think we could sell it definitely to our existing subscribers as well, because a lot of them are huge fans of the book, and they'll buy up anything that is related to that book. So it won't take a lot to do that. It's also like the disconnect again, between readers and people who consume media in other ways, right? Like, people on Amazon are readers, that's why they're there, but majority of people do not read. Okay, that's so you can't really equate that and say, okay, well, if people aren't buying the book, then it's not but developers still want to have a guide for their career, whether they read or not. I think that's a universal attribute, and we control the messaging. If we start coming up with if we start building this course and we make the hype about it and we send out emails and we're like, okay, we're building this course, and we have some videos talking about some of the concepts and giving them sneak previews about it and talking about how important it is to actually have a guide for your career and how important it is that if you're just starting out as a software developer, we can hit that message and say, like, do you know if you should the best way to get your first job, or if you should go to a boot camp or learn on your own, and get people to realize that this is an important thing that they're struggling with. We can send out all that messaging, and then by the time that we're ready to launch the course, people are already excited about this and they want the answers to those questions.
I think we can, like, what's going to happen is we'll launch it. We'll have a pretty good launch. We'll probably do 50 to 100,000, and then it's gonna be back to the same thing every month, where it's like it's gonna be $3,000 in sales a month.
No, because the difference is that we can focus all of our efforts and our messaging to this. We create one funnel. And I mean, if you think we can do a $50,000 to $100,000 launch on this, then then that's great. Then if we do that, then there's no reason why we can't continue to do that at pitching it to new subscribers as they come on board, but doing it in such a way that we're constantly hammering the same message, right? If every time you look at Simple Programmer and you see an email and you see a video and you hear a podcast, it's all talking about the same concepts of this career guide and talking about the course and the concepts in the course and why you need a guide for your career and why this is so important to succeed as a software developer, then you're going to be much more inclined to buy. We're going to be able to convert those people over time. That's it. We just have to have consistent messaging. Right now, the problem that we have is not that, it's just that we don't have any kind of consistent messaging. When they hear from us, think about the average user. They go and they're like, okay, top interview question, spam. Okay, they see the article on there, a pop-up comes up and it's like, would you like to learn 5 mistakes you're making as a developer, or whatever, learning. And then they sign up, okay, and then they get the email, and then they're immediately like in that email course, but they were reading an article about interview questions, and like it's a disconnected experience. And then later on, they get an email and it's like, hey, this Python course, and then they get another email and it's, oh, you should sign up for Pluralsight. And while some people are doing that, the message is not clear over time. Whereas if they were consistently getting this message, even if they didn't sign up the first time and buy, but then over months of time that they were getting that same message and they kept on seeing it and they kept on hearing about the value of it and they kept on seeing testimonials from people, right? Then they would eventually buy.
Mm-hmm. What is the how does the message get more consistent than what we have now? Because we're not going to be able to get rid of all the blog articles. Like, no. There's still going to be that same exact thing is going to they're still going to be searching for something. They're going to see, they're going to come to the interview questions thing, and now they're just going to sign up for a different pop-up, and it's still a disconnect from what they were originally searching for. And how do you, I guess I don't really understand what the consistent message will be over time in such a way that it's going to keep people interested.
Okay, because we'll have new articles on the blog that focus on promoting and creating the need for this, right? Well, every blog post, if we have the angle that everything needs to lead to the complete software developer career guide, then everything that we write will be focused on pointing them in that direction.
We could do that now we could just edit all the call to action on the end of all the blog posts, and they would all point to the career guide.
It's not as simple as just editing the calls to action. It's about what you're trying to do when you're creating the piece of content and what kind of desires and needs that you're trying to create within the reader, right? It's because if you create a piece of content and the purpose of your content is to promote a thing, then it's throughout it, right? That's I think, and that's what we'll do if we have a consistent message. If we know what we're trying to accomplish and what value we're trying to impress upon people, then we can write content, we can produce videos, we can produce emails, all targeting that.
What are a few pieces of content that we would not create because or some things we would not talk about that we've talked about like in the last, I don't know, year?
I mean, just about anything that's on the blog now, right? Because it's not that it's like explicitly wrong. It's just that it doesn't have a clear direction to it, right? So like, I mean, the blog post for today is steps to hire Node.js developers and where to find them. Now you could say that's related to software developer career, but it's not the kind of content that tells someone that they need to have a career guide and
Right.
that they
Okay, but like if you look at coding is not the same as programming. That would be something that we would publish. I would imagine 5 powerful skills that will drive your programming career. That's something we would publish.
Okay, but we'll just back up. Just take why coding is not the same as programming, right?
Right.
So if we were writing this or creating this video from the perspective of we're trying to pitch the career guide, okay, it would be written in a different fashion. Even though it might have the same title, the conclusion that you would draw from this as the reason why coding is not the same as programming and you need to know the difference is because of that you need to because there's a difference between just being a coder and being an actual software developer who does more than just write code. That's the difference. The difference is this, and this is why you need to understand all these other aspects of being a software developer, which is all here in the career guide. These are the things that people don't talk about. They teach you how to write code, and that's great. But when you actually get into a job, you're going to need to know how to work with your coworkers. You're going to need to know how to pass your reviews and how to deal with your boss.
I feel like that's not really any different than what you usually do. And that's the only difference is that at the end we're pointing them to a URL, which is like, the course.
No, the difference is the whole shape of the conversation that we're having is that the underlying conclusion is because you need to learn about your career, right? That you need to actually have a guide for your career, and you don't have that information anywhere else. No one else is telling you this information.
I think I can see John's point of like integrating the overall messaging and the like everything pointing in one direction is really crucial to take the business to the next level. In the sense, 10 steps to learn anything quickly or market yourself.
I mean, I get the logic.
Really but they're not what you would base a whole business off of. I mean, I would see 10 steps to learn anything quickly. Now you're competing with the likes of Jim Quick and those guys as the people who own that space. Compared to software developers career guide, yeah, you own that space in the sense simple programmer in some ways can stand for a complete software developer's career guide or the thing that you guys should be known for. How to market yourself, yeah, maybe how to market yourself is another angle but would you want the whole business to point to that? Hard to do that compared to the whole business pointing to career developer and like career guide, career development, and everything that is done to help with the career development. So overall,
I guess I
direction to go for.
Yeah, I mean, I see the logic of it. I just don't really see that there's really any fundamental difference from what we've been doing. Because John has been hammering that message for. I mean, every video that you create, John, is like it circles back around to that. Like that's very consistent.
That's not really true though. Like, I mean, in the like the broad scope of it, like if you draw a circle and you're like, okay, can this fit into software developer career guide? Yeah, everything could fit in there pretty much, right? But there's a huge difference between, if I told you, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but since I can't think of one right now, I'll just give you the plain example, which is if I tell you to write an article, okay, that could be categorized as software developer career guide content. There's a huge difference between that versus if I told you write an article that's going to on this topic that will convince people that they need a guide for their career as a software developer. it's a totally different angle that you're taking in the way that you write it and what you say or video. It doesn't matter what you're producing.
You're kind of creating mini sales pages.
Yeah, if you don't have the end goal in mind, it's that's the difference. It's like, yes, all this content that I'm creating, technically has that message, but it doesn't explicitly have it because I didn't create it for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's the difference here. And again, like I said, I mean, we can do something else, but like, if we do something else, do it. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I can do.
The thing is, I need you on board with whatever we're doing. I mean, like, you are the engine, really. So, I mean, that's the reality. Like, it's a personality business. We're not going to get away from that. And so, like, whatever we build you have to be front and center. So
yeah, I would not disagree with that.
I mean, I can't just take existing things and bang them on an anvil and like make something new. It's just what ends up happening is you just reshape what you have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, you're the creation engine here. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if we go down this road, if we create this content, I feel like we'll be successful and we'll have a direction and a mission for the company.
Okay. Hold on. The direction and mission come before the product.
Right.
You cannot say
no.
If the product is successful, then we'll have a direction and mission.
You're right. That's what I'm saying is that is going to, like, creating this product is basically an affirmation of what that new company direction and mission is, or the defined one. It's really always been this, right? But we'd be making this very explicit and clear, right? We would direct our team, if we're creating blog posts, to create blog posts specifically on these topics that we want created. Creating video content, all of these things, all the messaging would be behind this idea.
Yeah.
But
and that's how you succeed at your career, as the underlying argument with everything you guys do. That's how you succeed at your career in software development. Now that would be consistent messaging across the board. Yeah.
And it's always like, if you like this information, if this is useful to you, there's a lot more you need to know about your software development career, right? I mean, there's a lot of different angles to that are the same message that promote this idea that you need to know all these things. Do you know how to deal with coworkers and the boss in the software development environment? Do you know how to learn things quickly, right? Do you know how to get out there and all of these things, right? That
I think the question for Josh is like, would you actually build the business now on learn anything quickly? If you could, would you actually go about changing the direction of business and saying that is the mission and the principle, or that is a guiding mission for this business now? Or would you actually consider software, like pushing the software developer career guide as the mission?
I mean, I think that the message of you're overwhelmed by technology, by all these changes happening, and we're going to help you with that, is really compelling and has been the most successful. Does it align with
anything you guys say on Simple Programmer blog post?
Sure. Yeah, it does. It's a soft skill. Well, yeah, I know. I agree. We haven't focused in on that at all. I'm saying the market has selected that as one of the biggest problems. And like, surveys, it's the number one problem that software developers raise. The other one would be, we're going to help you become a software developer.
Which is where the career guide comes into play, right?
It's a much more specific and focused. It's like what Kazi is promoting is a streamlined, 10-week, here's the exact path, you follow these steps, and this is where you'll end up. Like that is something that you can effectively market. So those are the two things that stand out to me as being the most successful. And if we I think if we wanted to validate the idea of doing the career guide, having a more generic, like kind of all-encompassing career guide product, then we ought to be able to sell the book. Like we ought to be able to build a funnel that sells the book. Like if we can't sell a $10 product within a few days of somebody signing up for the email list, then I don't have a lot of hope that we're going to be able to sell a $1,000 product, even if we've got them for
How many
2
people
years.
are buying the book from the list? What
I
percentage?
haven't. We have from all. So we have a couple of affiliate links that we use through PrettyLink. At one point, I sent like 5,000 to 10,000 clicks to Amazon over a period of a few days with no impact on sales. We have Pretty Links that we've used in videos, blog posts, email campaigns that have collected, that collect thousands of hits a month, and we only are able to track about 20 sales a month of books through our affiliate code from Kindle, and that was at $4.99 price point. I really believe that all of our sales of the Kindle book are coming to us through Amazon, which is a completely different proposition than us being able to make sales of a particular thing from the audience that we are currently drawing to us.
That's a very fair proposition.
Yeah, the people on Amazon are there to buy books.
Yeah, but John, like it's a $5 product.
It doesn't
like if
matter.
we can't,
No. And John, you're right.
If you're allergic to eggs, if you don't like eggs, you can be like, okay, the eggs are 5 cents.
Right, but are you saying
it doesn't matter? Like you can,
if we get 6,000 people a month or 5,000 people a month, like surely 100 of them like to read.
No, not surely. It's a very small percentage
No,
of people
John,
that
you're
read.
right. People on Amazon are there to read, and that's why they buy these books. Doesn't necessarily mean that validates the product itself.
When there's competition with a lot of other books that they could read and other books are not as successful, it does. But in general, your statement's true. But in this case, the fact that they're choosing this book and buying this book over other choices,
buying it from the email list?
Because those are not people that are there to buy books or to read. They may not be readers.
Send them an audio copy. Try to sell an audio course.
That would probably do better, trying to sell them the audio version. Just sign up for Audible or whatever and get the audio version. Or we could just directly sell the audio version, actually, if we wanted to. We could just package it up. We could directly sell the books too, Josh, if we wanted to. Then we could track them.
I think that's a fair experiment. You just sell the audio version of the book and see what happens. You sell it to a subsegment of the audience to see how many people will buy that.
But again, the problem with this, in doing this in isolation, any kind of test like this, is that's not what the picture looks like. It's not like you're just like.
No, I get what you're saying.
It's
like
the messaging over time, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But if you send like 7 to 10 emails on this topic, you should be able to.
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to some degree, but it's still not the same thing as like about hearing about a launch months ahead of time.
If you're consistent over time, I really think that the biggest factor there is the people that you end up attracting. Like, if you're talking about it on podcasts and everything, like
it's true.
You're gonna have the audience that you attract is going to be shaped differently.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is very fair.
And we need to start controlling the shape of our audience as well, right? Because we want people that are actually interested in these topics. So
right.
That's why we have to have a clear direction, a clear message.
Yeah, I just really, okay. What I want to do is take a more iterative approach to this, though, versus like just going all in, going, okay, this is the $1,000 product. I've created it. Now, Josh, you go figure out how to sell it. Like, that does not work. That does not
Josh,
work.
you're gonna do that. You're gonna sell 100,000 copies of it.
Do you see how, like, okay, like the Complete Software Developer's Career Guide course is a very different proposition. Like, it will look entirely different than if we created a course called How to Get Your First Software Development Job. Like, completely different. Those are going to be structured completely differently. One of them is like a big library of content. One of them is like a structured process that, you know, is going to help people achieve a very specific outcome. Like, even though it seems like there's a lot of overlap there. Like, the actual thing that you deliver is very different. And I can't sell, like, you can't just tell people you can't just say, oh, this is how to get a job as a software developer, when it's really just a library of content.
Well, it is structured, right? There is a progression and a pathway through the content, right? It's not like it's just a random assortment of content. And then also, like, the main targeting that we should do is towards developers who want to get started, like beginner developers.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then the idea is to have the tiers, right? Because you know, the idea is like you'll graduate your way up, and you start off at the beginning developer tier, and then that's maybe a $500 product, maybe $1,000, I don't know, but probably around 500. And then the mid-level product is around 1,500, and the top level product is around like a $3,000 price point. Because the people who want to advance their careers and are serious about making more money, it's a big value proposition for them, for experienced developers, to learn these skills, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with starting. Like, I agree with that. The audience for the first product needs to be beginner developers. Like, if you look at the people that are doing this successfully, that is one thing that is almost universal. Is like, all right, how to become a blockchain developer, how to become a Python developer, how to become how to become a Python visual computer vision developer. I mean, like, pretty much anybody doing this successfully is pitching that beginner market that wants to make a big shift, a big transformation.
Yeah.
So why do we have to start with doing a big, huge course? Why don't we start with a 4-week workshop or something and see? And
because that's the cop-out answer. That's like putting your foot on the dock and then one foot on the boat. It never works out. That's one lesson that I've definitely learned, is you have to fully commit. You cannot play that, because it will exhibit itself in the way that you do things. It's not just like, there's so many places where it'll be apparent that you're not fully committing, because when you don't believe you're fully committing, the kind of work that you put in, the way that you talk about it, the way that you market it, the way that you produce the content reflects that.
You can be fully committed to a direction. Like, if we know that we're fully committed, like, okay, our next big thing is to help people who want to get their software developer job. Like, that is what we're going to, their first job as a developer. You can be fully committed to that, but not like spend, months and months producing some product in a cave and then springing it on people.
I mean, fair enough, but you still have to produce the product. And it's also like the way that you message and talk about the product that you're building. How do you do that if you're not actually making the ultimate product?
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. No.
Your office, away from office. Thank you.
When I wrote the book, for instance, right? Did I fully committed to writing the book, right?
Right.
And it was successful.
But I don't think that I don't think you can say that the commitment was the only deciding factor.
I think so, because I was like, this is going to be the ultimate software developer career guide. Like,
There was a giant hole in the market in Amazon that you filled.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I felt like it needed to be written. I still feel like there's still a giant hole that we're going to fill with this, which is that people need career guidance as software developers. They don't have all this information.
Why are you resistant to like doing some sort of sale to get the process started rather than like waiting to develop everything before you start anything?
Like I said, because it's putting one foot in the boat and one foot on the
No,
dock.
no, no. You are committed. Now get started.
And then
Start selling the damn thing.
You have to build up the messaging.
Yeah, go ahead, build the messaging, commit to
Okay.
the damn cause, and start selling.
So there's no reason. So I'll start building the product first then.
No, why? Start selling. Like we talk about this all the time.
How do I know what I'm selling? How do I know what the message is, what the value is? How am I excited about it if I'm not building the thing yet?
You probably know everything that you need to build in there because you have the book. You have the book to sell everything you need to sell.
But that's not the same thing as what the product will be.
Why not? That's the whole point, right?
What's the point? The only point in selling and marketing something before you actually build it is to basically reduce the downside risk, right?
Sure.
Which means it's a lack of confidence. It's not fully committing. The only reason to do that is that you're trying to
basically you're going against you're arguing against the whole lean startup methodology right now.
Yes.
Why?
It doesn't work. You actually have to fully commit to your plan of execution
methodology that has ever existed, and you're saying it does not work.
There's a difference between like having to like trying to make it work and having to make it work.
There's nothing you have to make it work. Unfortunately, right now, the stage where you guys are in the business, even if you did not have to make it work, you would still survive. So even if you did not make it work, you would still survive. So there's no having to make it work.
If you invest the time and you build the product, you have to make it work.
You've been there. You guys have been there. Like
I've never built a product and not had every single product I've ever created has been immensely successful. That's absolutely true. From How to Market Yourself to both of the books that I wrote, okay, to 10 Steps to Learn Everything Quickly.
That's not a methodology. That's just what has happened so far. But that's not like
I'm just saying that's a pretty damn good track record.
Yeah,
I've had the same methodology.
That's like going to Vegas and saying I've won every single time and I'm gonna go and bet the farm again.
If you win every single time in Vegas, you should bet the fucking farm.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, if you win every single time, go for it.
No, I don't.
You got some kind of thing going on. I don't know what it is, but if you win every single time, you should keep on winning.
I don't believe that's a good idea. I think that's a dangerous way. But again, okay, well, I mean, it's one thing to go with your analysis of what is the right thing. It's another to test it. I mean, testing is a framework in entrepreneurship that's been, that gets you results. Even freaking Tesla pre-sold its Tesla Model S. It didn't just say we know it'll work. They pre-sold the damn thing.
How much R&D did they already put into it before they pre-sold it? They were fully committed. He was on the hook for everything.
Okay, so here like for me this is what it comes down to for me, I think. if we can make 10, 20, we can make somewhere between $10,000 and $100,000, right, like launching anything to our list. That is not a question. Like, I know if John did a new course, we would make a bunch of money initially because we have a lot of super fans. The question is, to me, is whatever we build the most compelling thing that we can find that will bring people, that will attract people who aren't super fans into our orbit. So, and that's where testing can be valuable, because yes, you maybe thing A sells okay, but thing B could be much easier to sell and much, and actually not have a huge long sales cycle where we have to like badger people for 6 months to make a sale. I feel like that's where we are right now. And when you can harmonize with what people actually want, which you find out by testing, then the whole thing becomes much easier.
Okay, fair enough. This is what I
Right?
would say then. Okay. We've got probably another month before I can be free enough to actually work on a product. So, Josh, tell me what to build, and I will build it. If you give me the rubber stamp, if you're like, John, this is what I need. If you build this product, they will come.
Let's do
and
this.
They will buy it. Then I will build that product.
Let's do this then. Let's line up a bunch of podcast interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And you go on the podcast interviews and talk about. We have to pick a topic, and we'll have a pre-launch sign up, and we will get people to sign up for it that are in a cold audience. So, if it's the career guide, then we get you on a bunch of podcasts, and you talk about this career guide course that we're building, and we try to get people signed up for it. Or maybe it's the how to get your first software developer job.
Well, choose what you want me to do.
Okay.
If you're gonna run the ship, you got to tell me exactly. Like, you got to have a direction.
Why are you guys going to an external podcast rather than testing it in your
Because
own playground?
it doesn't. Because the thing is, we have, like I've said, everything that we've sold to our audience has only been to the super fans. This tiny segment. And the reason we can't grow is because they're the only ones that are buying anything. Okay? And it's like 2,000 people. 2,000 people. Like, if you took 2,000 people off the list, there would be no sales of anything.
Well, let's sell those 2,000 people a $1,000 product.
We need to sell them a $20,000 product if that's all we're working with.
I'll do a $20,000 product. You just tell me what you want me to do. That's all I'm saying here. It's like I know, right? If I'm gonna steer the ship, I know which direction that I'm taking it. But if you're gonna steer the ship, just tell me what you want me to do.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, like, ever since you've gotten back involved, you've been steering the ship, so that's fine. Like,
well, I mean, no, I'm totally open to like, if you want to test some ideas and then tell me what product that I need to build, I'll build it. But I just need to know, like, and you need to, like, you just have to commit to, this is the course of action you're going to take. I'm going to test these things.
So I am not. One thing I want to disagree with is, like, going to podcast as a way to test this. That's, like, pretty difficult to evaluate any kind of real traction, because you don't know how big the podcast listens were and what percentage of the audience got on the sale. Like, it's so many variables at that point that it wouldn't really add up to a real test.
I think it's not good for testing, but it's good for promoting.
Yes, that I agree. Like, if you had already decided on the product that you guys were going to do, then going on the podcast circuit makes total sense. But until then, testing on your own list is probably the only way to go. You take out the super fans and then do the test. How about that? You take out all the people with high drift score, take them out from the test, like, remove them from your emailing for the next, like, for this product emailing, and see what happens to test what interest people have in this. Remove the people with 200 plus drip score or whatever it is, exclude them, and see what kind of results you get from it.
And what is the test going to be?
A pre-sale of the product.
No, not a pre-sale of the product. That's not you can't test things that way, because you're burning up the faith that people have in you if you're testing some shit that, like,
yeah, I mean,
you have to have choices. Like,
or
it's
you
like,
can actually have just a link, like, have 5 links to click on. Like, these are the different products we're considering creating. Which of these would you be most interested in?
it's like the again, I think that could be okay. Like, if you guys want to do that, I'll do that. But it's
give them
like
5 headlines.
It's
Give them
like
5 headlines and see which ones they're most interested in.
there's a reason why when you go into the ice cream shop and they have a bunch of flavors that they give you those little spoons and let you taste it. It's because it's just the flavor alone. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, like you give me these things and I think maybe I'm interested in this one, but I haven't heard your pitch for them yet. It's totally different when you start marketing and start, creating the content around it. Like, people think they want one thing, but then they actually buy and act on something else. And you're not going to know that just by a headline.
But if you send an email to 55,000 people with 5 headlines and one headline wins over everything else,
that doesn't mean it doesn't mean that's what they would buy when you actually went through the process of actually pitching it and you made that your message.
That's a hard no there. I'm not sure why you would disagree with that.
Because the business is an influencer business. Because
assuming you were able to equally influence in any of those directions, which direction would you want to influence in? Is the question.
The question is what can I sell them better or convince them that they need better? Not what did they think that they need. Like, it's not just like a buffet and they're picking which dish they like the best. It's more like, this is the chef's special and here it is, and this is why it's so good. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I keep on coming back to. Is
so one thing that is
so you're
different,
completely
John,
against sending out an email with 5 headlines? Is that like a big deal?
No. Okay, but it's that okay, here it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because whatever I make, we're going to succeed and it'll sell. It doesn't even matter what it is. I know this to be true. Okay, so
that's where our perspectives are different. Okay,
you just tell me.
No, but like I get frustrated because so for you everything has been successful. For me, I have really struggled to actually push any of it beyond a certain point. Right. So our perspectives are different. Like it's easy. Like, you can put something out there. We can put something out there and it will succeed to a certain point, but then like it's getting, I don't know. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say.
I know,
but it's like,
it doesn't have the momentum.
It's like, I freaking can't sell a $10 Kindle book. Okay. Right. To 50,000 people or 80,000 people, right? To you, like, you wrote the book, it's done phenomenally well, but like, if we can't like put any oomph into it, like, it's a qualified success, right? From a business growth perspective.
Okay.
And that's where I feel like like, if we do this, like, I know that we can do a good launch. Right. It'll be worth it. I have zero confidence that we can make it a long-term business that we can grow and scale. That's where I'm like really stripping my gears, is like, I know, I mean, I have a lot of confidence that you can sell it to the audience initially, but then we need to be able to like leverage machinery long term. Right. Like, if it's going to be more than just another product launch, like, I don't really want to do just another product launch.
Well, okay. So a couple of things. One, I mean, the book commercially is successful, right? Like, right. I mean, we're generating $6,000 to $10,000 a month on the book and in profit. So it's a big success for sure. But if we turned all of our engines towards promoting the book, we could definitely increase that number by a large degree. We haven't put everything behind promoting the book. I mean, if we made our whole entire company about promoting the book, if that was our main thing that we're trying to do, and we're making that like our main lead magnet or whatever it is, we could certainly do that. Like, sending a couple of emails about the book is not the same thing as putting everything you've got behind selling and promoting that book.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying there. I would argue that
And I think we could do that with any product. I think we could do that with any of our products. The problem is that the reason why we're not able to achieve escape velocity on any of them, why you're not able to get them there, is because we're not doing that. So like take how to market yourself or 10 steps to learn anything quickly. Like let's just take like how to market yourself as a software developer, right? If we were putting everything behind that course and just pitching that one course, all of our messaging would be about it. We would create blog posts, articles, videos about that, but also we'd be iterating the versions of the course to make it better and talking about how we're improving the course and getting feedback, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we just need to. That's why I'm saying, like, let's just create the complete software developer career guide and just start doing that with that.
I think the only thing you're arguing for is that we just need a bigger iteration.
A bigger
at the
iteration.
Beginning. Well, yeah, like, I mean, if we're going to iterate anyway, then why not start with a smaller iteration that we can deliver sooner to gather feedback before we do a big, huge product? I mean, that's basically the lean, and that's the lean methodology. I mean,
So what would be the small iteration that you want to do? It's hard to get excited about a small iteration of a thing, and it's hard to be committed to it as well. But what do you want to do? That's the question. What do you want to do? If you can do anything you want to do, what do you want to do?
I would launch a workshop that is $500 to $1,000 live, hands-on, for 8 weeks about how to get a software development job.
To our existing list?
Yes.
And it'll be an 8-week program.
Some length of time, live.
Now, okay, the only issue that I have with that would be, like, that's a lot of scaffolding to build for something that is not going to, I mean, think about the work that's going to be involved in that for something that is not going to be an artifact that remains.
The artifact that remains is the learning that we get from working through people and helping them actually solve their problems. And
learning, okay.
That's what goes into the next version and the next version and the next version.
But we keep on creating live courses, like live programs.
I think that there needs to be some sort of live cohort model to it, yes. Where it's not like an evergreen thing and it needs to be
done
together.
That would just be too much work in the long term.
Well, that's the thing. It's like if you want completely passive and you don't ever want to work, then that's really limiting.
Create content and then have coaching calls, which would consider
that's
support, like once a month
coaching call. Considered. Yeah, I mean, I would. Well, I would say probably more like weekly you'd need to do it because people need help if they're actually trying to do something, actually trying to solve a problem. They need help working through it. So it needs to be more often than once a month, for sure.
Getting a software job is like the holy grail of everything you guys want to build around Super Programmer.
That's not what my vision would be.
What's your vision?
Would be teaching software developers the career skills that they need, the soft skills they need.
What is the most important career skill you would teach them?
What is the most important career skill I teach them?
If you could teach anything to people, to software developers,
the thing is about the career skills thing is if you don't do it as a monolithic product that you try to sell to everyone, then you are in the situation we're in now where you have like all these tiny little fragmented things and you're doing productivity and you're doing interviewing and you're doing you know, how to build your resume, and it just it shatters into a million pieces.
Yeah, what's the one thing you would sell in that case?
Consulting.com, right? What is that? Sam Ovens. It's a 10-week workshop with live coaching, working through a specific set of curriculum to launch a consulting business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
become a highly paid
Copy what works. Like, let's copy what works. There's like a lot of people doing this, and it's pretty, you know, I bet your the coaching student that you have, like it's a specific length of time that he's selling this for, and he's got weekly coaching calls or something, and you know, he's got content, and then he's got support along with it, and he's launching it to a bunch of people.
Remember, I coached him on how to do this. It's automated. It's just a course. It's a $500 course. He's got an additional upsell for coaching for like another $1,500.
Okay, well, how many of those have gone into that? The money he's made, though.
Only about, I think, 2 or 3 so far is what he said.
Okay.
So it's not a huge portion of it. We can sell a $500 product that doesn't require anything in addition. We can make an additional continuity program on the back end of it, which is what I'd like to do for $50 a month or whatever.
Selling a $500 course would be huge if you guys did that.
I think we can sell a $500 course. I think that we could, with our list, I think we could get 1% of our list to buy, maybe not 1%, maybe 0.05% of our list to buy a $500 course. That's 4,000 purchases.
4,000 purchases?
0.05.
Yeah,
how big is your list? More like.
John, but I'm talking, but I'm looking at the long term. Okay, so if we got
400 purchases.
If the conversion rate is 0.005 or 0.5%, that's 20 sales a month based off of 4,000 email signups.
20,
like that's my point. Is like, yes, we can do. I know we can do a good launch, but 20 sales a month at $500 is like
10,000.
Doesn't even get us. Yeah, but it doesn't even. That's our flagship. It doesn't even get us back to. It doesn't even get us anywhere near. And we're giving up the $5,000 we're making now, so we net $5,000.
Why are we giving up the $5,000 we're making now?
Because we have to focus. So we have to get rid of. Yeah, we have to get rid of all the other products. So there's an opportunity cost.
We could probably increase the conversion rate on people that are coming in. Right, our existing list has a lot of dead weight. We could probably get a 1% conversion on people coming in, which would be $20,000 a month.
That would get us back to where we were.
And we could probably grow the audience, and we can have upsells. I don't know. I mean, if you've got a better plan, like idea that doesn't involve running on a treadmill.
The problem is the plan. What you want to do, I want to do with the like I want to figure out what's going to sell, and you want to do what you want to do, and
you can do. Like, I'm okay with you. Tell me what's going to sell, and then I'll make a course on it.
Well, we're going to have to try some different things, but. You're like, are you going to really want to spend 6 months or a year trying to reorient the company around how to get your first software developer job? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to want to do that long term. So
we could do that if that's the best thing to do.
Is that the best thing to do? And is that an assumption or a reality?
You got to give me something that you want to do. Like, what's your next course of action? If we don't do the Complete Software Developer Career Guide course, where do you go?
I mean, I think I just said that.
It's an 8-week program, but that requires me running on a treadmill. Okay, if I'm not here, if I'm out of the picture, let's put it this way. If I'm out of the picture and you're just deciding what you're going to do with this company, where do you go? That's a good question to ask.
Cut expenses and let it ride.
So
let it ride.
Because I don't
John's
think there's
salary is what you're saying.
there is no company without you, John.
What if you have to create content?
I wouldn't do it
Why not?
because this isn't my wheelhouse. I didn't build this. I can't step into those shoes.
I think you could, but
I don't.
okay.
I wouldn't.
But if you had to grow the company and you didn't have me, what would you do? And you kind of do,
I mean,
right? This is kind of the real situation because, I mean, unless you're going to go start a different business or take a job, then or freelance, you're going to have to the reality is if you don't do something, that the company will eventually start to go down. The revenue will drop.
Yes, it will. I don't know. I don't know how you take a personality-driven business, and make the right angle turn into something completely different.
Okay, let me phrase it a different way. Suppose that you're starting a brand new business, okay? And someone, normally when you start a brand new business, you've got to generate traffic and you've got to come up with content and all of this stuff. But suppose that you're starting a brand new business, you've got a clean slate. The one thing though, the gift from your fairy godmother is all the traffic of Simple Programmer. Now what do you do? And it's the specific traffic that's going.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Because we've got
if I were starting over, in that scenario, what I would ask my fairy godmother for is that to make me an expert in Python. To be honest, no, I'm completely serious.
Okay, well that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Well, fairy godmothers are out of the realm of possibility.
Well, I'm saying that if you wanted to right now, you could become an expert in Python in the next 3 months.
Yeah, but Simple Programmer, the traffic doesn't.
I'm saying we have the gift of a huge amount of traffic. That's a huge advantage to if you're starting a brand new company. Right. If I were starting a brand new company and someone dumped on me 250 page views a month, I would be successful with that company, no matter what that was. Right. No matter where what pages they were reviewing, it doesn't matter. Just give me that. Any person starting out would love to have that kind of traffic. That's why I'm asking, what would you do?
I mean, honestly, the only other business model that makes sense to me is trying to leverage into some kind of publishing Amazon business. Publishing niche titles on Amazon, because that has worked well for us. We could, basically you'd be launching books, and it would be still a hedge. It would still be launching books is always a crapshoot, but you have a initial jump start from the audience if you're and you have some extra insight into what people are interested in because of what people respond to on the list. But I mean, I think I've I've taken some of my best shots at taking this and transforming, trying some other things that are not tied to you, and the stuff that I thought would work didn't work, does not work at all. I mean, the efforts with Jason, interviewing, several other things, just there was nothing there, nothing. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, aside from putting up ads on, if you gave me the website right now, I don't know what I would do with it.
Okay.
And I think that we've even since you came back, we've tried some things just having, we get 60,000 page views a month on that interviewing blog post, and it's completely worthless.
Well, I don't know if it's completely worthless, but
if you can't sell an interviewing course off of a blog post about coding interviews, then to me it's pretty worthless.
It might not be the best pitch. I mean, there could be some work done in the funnel, right? I mean, there's
Multiplying
opportunity.
zeros.
There, it's not quite zero. There was like a couple of
There
sales.
was one sale a week, so. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't have any easy answers, but all I know is that you keep trying different keys until the door unlocks, and just trying one big key is what we're talking about here. And I don't know. I mean, I've spent the last 2 years trying different keys, so I'm a little skeptical that just trying one more big key and putting a little more oomph into it is really the only thing that's missing.
But that's because everything hasn't been focused in the one direction. Like I believe we could succeed in any product that we have if we put the effort behind it and we make that our singular message. Because remember, there's so many tweaks and optimizations, right? It's like you don't even realize how much like all of these small little factors add up, because it's easy to view it and say, well, it doesn't matter if we increase the sales by 10%, but if you increase the opt-ins by 10% and the sales by 10% and the right, and that's only going to happen when you have a singular focus, you have one product, one funnel, and you're optimizing it along every step of the way. And we're only going to see that benefit when we actually go that direction. That's why I'm saying like I, if it's up to me, I think the Complete Software Developer Career Guide, it's something I can get behind.
Well, it's something that like you have to, because you're the engine.
All right, then let's do it. Let's do the Complete Software Developer Career Guide. Trust me, we'll make it successful.
I'm a magnifying glass. I can focus, but I can't generate the energy.
Okay, then
the energy. You're the sun. I'm the magnifying glass. So, I mean.
Okay, I still feel like that's the right move. Then I mean, unless you have something specifically, or you want to run some kind of tests and you want to come up with something else to do, then let's go down this course. Let's do promotions for now, affiliate deals until I can get the bandwidth to get this course built, and then I'll build the course as quickly as I can. We'll work on building up an insane launch and marketing plan for it, and then we'll just launch the hell out of it. And at the very worst case, we'll make like 200K. So, right? I mean, like that's not a bad result for like, probably will take us like, I don't know, somewhere between 4 and 6 months worth of work. Like making 200K for that is not, that's like worst case scenario, because we know we're going to sell the course. Like there's no question about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident that we'll have a good launch. So, I mean, maybe too, like, because my big thing is just the long-term viability of it, really. So I don't know. I guess, I mean, maybe we can figure out some sort of ongoing system or schedule.
I see it
where we can get you.
Well, I think if we successfully launch the course, right, and we make like, let's say $100,000-$200,000 off the launch, we know that people will buy it. And even if it is just the super fans that buy it, then we just have to have a process for turning people into super fans, right? And it's not going to be that we can turn every person into a super fan, but maybe we can take, out of so many people and turn them into super fans. And how do we do that? And if we're continually working on the process of tweaking the messaging of like when people first enter the Simple Programmer solar system, this is what we give them, and we keep on working on changing out the emails, changing out the video sales letters and all that until we get to the point where we have a good onboarding where we get people into that orbit, then we can make that succeed. We could do that right now. In fact, to some degree, it's just probably not worth it. Like if we took the 5 steps to learn anything quickly, opt-in the course right now, and the pitch, like that's not optimized. I mean, it is literally like, I don't know if you've even made any changes since the first time that you created the email course for that. Like we're far from
I mean,
optimized.
I've tested a lot of different changes to it, but and didn't find them to be have any impact. I've
But-
tested subject lines.
Yeah.
I've tested different timing on the course. I've tested different opt-ins.
But you haven't
I-
changed up the actual emails themselves, right? Like what I'm saying is that, like, just think of it this way, right? If your whole job was to just tweak this one funnel, right? Do you not think that you could double or triple the revenue coming out of that funnel? This is your whole job, and they give you 6 months, and it's just every day, all you do is you just fucking tweak the funnel.
Yep, you can, but there's a limit to that.
Right. There is a limit
Law
to
of
that.
diminishing returns. You don't know how long you can do it, but you can definitely take a X funnel initial launch to double its conversions with doubling the opt-ins, doubling the email sales cycle, the sales page improvements, and all that stuff from the initial sale to double it can be done. But after that, I don't know how long you can keep on improving that shit. But then you can also now start doing retargeting on Facebook, because there's this only one thing you're selling all the fucking time. So you're retargeting on Instagram and Facebook with your videos on that topic. So anyone who comes into the funnel is getting retargeting the fuck out of this $1,000, $2,000 course, and that's going to be a much easier sell than, or much easier process to sell than trying to sell 20 different processes, 20 different courses, or 5 different courses.
I mean, even the sales page too, right? Like I was just looking at the sales page, and it just occurred to me that one of the things that we're missing on the sales page is that we have for 10 steps the older new technologies, right? Like we've got Ember and Angular JS on there, but no one even knows what Ember is anymore. But the big thing now is React, right? So like just like if we're constantly and it's what I'm saying here is basically this, is that when we have a singular focus and we've got a very simplified system where we have one product and we have one funnel that goes to that product, we can work on the sales page, we can work on the funnel, the emails, we can work on the front end offer, the back end offer. Like there's so many little pieces that we can tweak. If we can just make if that pipe has any kind of water running through it, we can expand that pipe.
But let's also understand that it's hard to sell $1,000 course on just by email sequences these days.
No, $500 course, definitely.
Yeah, 500 is probably the max. Running an automated webinar is probably the way to go, but also that is like $1,000 is hard to sell without any kind of launches, without any kind of real deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you're getting on the launch hamster wheel to sell those $1,000 courses, unless you go into the membership model where you're just charging $100 a month, or this kind of membership forever, in which case you sell average of 6 months, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, you can't keep selling $1,000 courses through email. That's definitely one thing we know in today's market.
No, we just need the one course, and we just need to.
Yeah, you can't sell one course on $1,000 on email. Nobody's selling it.
That doesn't mean it can't be done, but $500. $500 is I just saw that price point work. So
yeah, $500 is realistic. $497, $500 is where it's probably the maximum of what you can sell automated evergreen. Let's put it that way. Evergreen, it's hard to sell $1,000, $2,000 course. Everyone selling $1,000 is usually doing some sort of a launch or some sort of paid advertising to get there.
But we can do evergreen for a $500 course, and we can optimize and tweak the funnel. If we just have that single thing and that singular focus, we can make it work, and we can make it highly
Yeah.
profitable.
You can sell $500 course, and you can keep on improving that funnel.
Yeah.
All right. So John, you're doing videos now, right? For Simple Programmer.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, why don't we get a pre-launch page set up and just start talking in every single video, start talking about the new course that we're putting together.
That's a good idea.
Sign
Okay.
up.
And I'll try to gear the topics around that, or like steer the topic conversation towards the idea.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do it. I'll make some videos next week, new Simple Programmer ones, or maybe today if I've got some time.
Yeah, let's just start talking about it if it's going to be the thing. So.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a question. So the article that I wrote, your team wants to include external links to Amazon, etc., for the books. And is that like a requirement these days for you guys in terms of getting good SEO? Because that's what your team keeps telling me. Like, for good SEO, you must link out. And I'm like, okay.
You pissed off our editor. Good job, fucker.
Which editor?
Our editor, our main editor. Huh?
There's quite a few editors who are interested in that.
No, the main gal. So
and I just asked the question. I didn't really say anything like, "Hey, you should do that or that." I just said, "Hey, why do we have to keep putting links?"
Well, you already rubbed her the wrong way with the whole plagiarism life hacker thing. So whoever wrote your thing for you, I think they did some copy and paste work.
Yeah, that's not good because how do you guys? Well, what's the tool you use? Because I need to get my
They didn't use it till the formatting matched. They were like, why is this in a different font? And then they Googled it and it came up. That's what it was.
They wouldn't have caught it except for the
Yeah, the tools didn't actually find anything. It was the font.
Yeah, I mean,
being different. So
the best thing, I guess, if you have a ghostwriter is just to get on a Skype call and say, if you plagiarize, I will fucking find you and I will slit your throat.
But she's a good writer. I've never that's not what she does. So I'm like,
well, just tell her what the fuck. Just like plop down the paper in front of her and be like, hey, what do these two fucking articles have in common? You tell me. Right? It's like one of them, so yeah, just tell her, hey, you're busted, you're caught. Don't ever do this again.
Yeah, not cut, but caught.
Yeah, caught. Yeah, just don't ever do this again. Yeah. That's what I would say, is like, this is not acceptable. You embarrassed me. Yeah.
So yeah, on the external links thing, that's our policy, is to be like, every article that we publish has external links for for SEO, and then also internal links, which I think she said she was willing to waive that. I don't really think that the external links are going to make a huge difference overall in this, so I think we should just leave them in. Okay. And then if it's like killing it, then maybe we can optimize it. But there's already so much going on the page. Like there's links down the side. There's there's navigation. It's not a sales page.
Yeah.
So so if it's gonna work, then I think that's gonna make a huge difference.
I told her that, like, to leave the external links to the Amazon pages, but not to do the internal links on this one. Honestly, I don't think it matters either way. But I would have just as soon said, let's not do the external links for this one, except I didn't want to take your side and piss her off. So
completely, yeah. No, I get it.
She's also looking at it like, okay, now I'm gonna get every writer coming to me, and they're all gonna want to put like a big, huge, like, we have a pretty strict policy on big calls.
Yeah, you don't want to get around them. Yeah.
So so this is, I told her this is kind of a different thing we're trying, so she's understandable. Yeah. It's just she's trying to hold back the floodgates.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was just wondering why you call that an SEO factor. More like, I don't understand.
Internal links are an SEO factor.
Both of them are. Both of them are.
External too? Why?
Yeah, external too, because Google looks at linking out to authoritative sites as a positive sign that you're providing authoritative information. I don't know how big of it. It's definitely a factor. I mean, like, if you read Brian Dean or any of the SEO guys, like they say that same thing. So I'm not where it's pretty common practice, pretty common view now. I can Google.
Interesting. I didn't know that linking out was a good practice now.
Yeah, because they're looking at it as like, they're looking at it as like, are you providing authoritative, useful content? And they see external links as a sign of that. That's why you can have like pages that are nothing but links to external. You can have pages that work really well that are nothing but a list of pages that link out to other sites. So
that's true. They serve a different purpose. That's what people are there for.
Yeah.
So people will still spend time on that page because they'll keep coming back to that page to link to the other pages.
Yeah.
You click on the other pages. But anyways, that was just me.
Yeah. They just have They have a checklist.
It's all good. Whatever. Who's the lead editor there? Because there's quite a few people I'm interacting with. I'm not sure who's the leader.
Elisa's lead.
Elisa?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just say whatever you guys want at this point, go with it. I've already submitted everything from my point of view. So whatever they want.
Okay.
No more messing around.
Yeah, just get it out there. Just don't fight them.
Yeah.
If it works well, if it takes off, then we can optimize it. So just get it done.
That's true. It's not a video, so it's always optimizable. Cool.
All right. Well, we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah.
Shit. It's been 3 hours only.
Yeah, just 3 hours.
3 hours.
Longest show ever.
Should do our thoughts for the day or week or life.
Month or year.
I'm still getting last and final chance to enroll in Bulldog Mindset membership emails.
Oh no, from ActiveCampaign?
I don't know. This just came out 5 minutes ago, so apparently we're still selling. Maybe this must be the last and final one. The last and final. So
yeah. It's not good. I want to see what you're saying in those emails.
all right. My thought for the week, I'm just going to go with the boat analogy. Like, don't put one foot on the dock and one foot in the boat. Otherwise, you'll end up doing the splits. Like, it's just not like you've got to, like, how far you go into, like, it's like when I'm like, I'm going to run a marathon. I'll just start training for it. And then I don't have a marathon picked out and I don't have a training program picked out. But when I have one that I've signed up for, I'm running the marathon. Like, otherwise, it's just not going to happen. So that's, you got to, like, put both feet in the boat. And it's that influences your behavior in ways that you can't fathom. It seems like, from a logical perspective, it doesn't matter, right? It seems like a good choice a lot of times, but it influences your behavior when you know that you're making a full decision and that there is no dock that you can step back onto. You do things differently.
It's fair.
So I have ants at my house, and I got these ant traps, and I put them out, and the ants just completely ignored them. They just walked around them. And the reason was, to get the sugar water, they had to walk up on this little thing. They had to walk up a little ramp, and that was like too much work for them.
Fucking lazy ants.
Yeah. So, well, they're busy, right? I mean, they've got their heads down. They're like, running on their little trail. If you take the syrup and you pour it out, so there's like, you pour it on like a little index card, freaking swarms of them all over it. And I think like that's like about making an appropriately sized next step for the ants. Going up onto that stupid little piece of plastic was just it was too much of an ask. So I had to make the ask smaller and lower the amount of effort for that first taste. And then they drank to their death.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying that
Where's the thought?
the size of the next step that you're asking people to make in marketing is a
Yeah.
really big deal.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we should deal drugs now or build a better ant trap. I'm good with either one of those.
Appropriately sized next steps.
Okay.
Uh,
I agree.
Yeah, small steps. That's the game of life, and that's the game of game as well. My thought is distractions are the most dangerous part of business, and they are very easy. It's so easy to think that it's aligned, that the thing you are doing is aligned with whatever you're trying to do in the big picture, in the long term, or whatever the vision is. But like, I think Drucker is the one who said more businesses die of indigestion than of starvation. And that's so true for every time I think of like, okay, I should do this, and I start going down that path, and pretty quickly that thing has become a whole business all by itself, rather than like, oh, it's just a small thing that I was testing out, right? It's like, oh, there's a new marketing angle, there's a new marketing channel, there's a new way to approach it. Like, coaching has a whole different beast of marketing and selling, and all of those things are separate compared to selling online, which is through email marketing or through video marketing or any other. So everything, even starting a new marketing channel is a distraction. Starting a new way to make money is a distraction. The only thing that is not a distraction is what was working and the thing that you're going to continue to make work, rather than thinking that this small thing you're doing is not a distraction. It is most probably a distraction.
Yeah.
If it is not what you did to make money initially, it's probably a distraction.
Truth. All right, guys. See you
Alrighty.
next week.
Yeah.
Later.